Welcome, everybody, to the NLC. I am Scoundrel. We are going into playoffs week. And before we get into the show, I just want to say a big thank you to our sponsors, El Giganten, Corsair, Telia, and MasterCard. Thank you so much. Cool, guys, I have Trouble and Gulborg on the desk with me, and this is it. We are at the business end of the tournament, and as you know, everything is on the line here. Now, I want to briefly talk about what to expect over the next few days, and then as a group, we can start to divulge and dissect what's coming up over the next few games. First of all, let's have a look at the bracket, because I can explain to you the tournament structure and give you an idea about what's to come today, tomorrow, and Thursday. Today, we are in the lower bracket. The teams that you will see play today do not have a second chance. This is it. It is not double elimination for them. If they lose, they are out. All of that work to get to playoffs, if you lose in this best of three, you're going to go home. That's it. No chance of getting to those finals, and your European Master spot is wiped off the card. The winners of today will face the losers of tomorrow in the elimination match 1 and 2, which you see on your screens, and we will follow the course of the tournament as such. That is it. These teams are starting their gauntlet run right now, and we are going to start off with our first. And what I want to say, and first thing I want to get into in the discussion that I want to have is these teams, some of them you might not have expected them to be here, especially on these lower bracket games today. And I want to talk about if there are any dark horses. Is there any team that maybe could sneak their way to that final from this lower bracket?
I wouldn't go as far as saying the final, but the team that I specifically had completely out of the whole playoffs run, and I even considered them to be sort of like a relegations team, was the Godsent lineup coming in. They were picked up way too late, just before the NLC started, brand new roster formed, and you know what, coming in, they looked extremely shaky. They were dropping games. They had no way or shape or form their wave management in order. They didn't know anything about lane assignments. The mid to late game was certainly falling apart, and they couldn't even figure out a way that they wanted to play the game. Even though they had a strong top lane, they weren't playing through it. So they had the guns in the hands, they just didn't know how to use them, and it was all falling apart. So the road so far has been shaky, but the good thing is that if you start shaky and you end up from a relegation spot to third place, I call this huge improvement for the roster of Godsent.
Yeah,
I swapped it right there, not for Nordavind.
Yeah, and you know, speaking about that road from Godsent, you're mentioning it has been shaky, but honestly, I feel like that jungler Seaboy has been a pivotal front runner, always keeping the consistency going in Godsent. He's always there to play whatever the team needs. Oh, you need a Nidalee? Graves? Well, we got it. Seaboy's just going to be that aggressive jungler. We're in need of CC? Okay, let's go for that Sejuani. Oh, we want flex picks? Let's go for that set. He's just always there, one of the most adaptable junglers in the league, and I think that he is the kind of jungler that every team wants, and I said it, extremely pivotal jungler for Godsent, just keeping them in this playoffs run. And yeah, they're facing Barrage today. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, Barrage, that's who they're going up against. And I've got to go to you, Trouble. You've been in their entire corner the whole season. Talk to me about Barrage.
Well, you guys didn't agree with me when we were preparing this, but I specifically had really high expectations for Barrage. Not real high expectations to the point where they can beat Fnatic, for sure not, but I thought they were going to actually breeze their way through to get into the playoffs and have a very fair and safe ticket, and they were literally the last team to lock in, and it was so close. They were even tied on that last spot. And as you heard, Dreedy said in his interview last week that they feel like they will be much better in the best of three. And I completely agree, because so far, I believe they have extremely strong individuals that they haven't necessarily figured out how to use. They have Yadrin in the mid lane, they have Dreedy in the top lane. I feel like their solo lanes are extremely strong. If they can play through them, they can win games. Now, the problem here is that this is a best of three and you have to be adaptable, but as a team that's coming in with mistakes, you can also fix them through a whole series.
Yeah, and just like that, you're speaking about strong individual laners. I want to highlight Jatron a bit. I feel like he has always been the most consistent member of the team in the mid lane. He's always the one finding a pick by himself, individual, no team play needed, and it's crucial for keeping Barrage in games that might have seemed lost.
Asterisk has solo killed Matty Felix.
I feel like that is becoming the has solo killed faker of the NLC. I'm not sure. All right, guys, obviously let's go from a roster hyped up specifically by Trouble to a roster that was hyped up by practically the entire universe. I'm talking about Monster Rugby Gaming, of course, and I think realistically we expected more from them, you know, from the performance that they've had throughout this season. We maybe just expected a little bit more, Goldborg.
Yeah, and I mean, just as you said, they came into this league being the academy killers, right? That was what we anticipated from them. But they have been struggling, even putting lower teams to rest. And they haven't really delivered on that hype they came in. Arguably, they had some big names, but they also have a, reputation they need to defend then. And just like Trouble said with Barrage, the same goes for Monster Rugby Gaming. They are making easy, identifiable mistakes in game, and that might benefit them in a system where we got a best of 3 where you can adapt after making those mistakes.
I think now that leads me on to an interesting point for you, Trouble. What is it that Monster do well? Because they have the quickest game time in the NLC at 21 minutes and 3 seconds. What do we want from them to get back to that form?
See, that's the thing. I think they either underestimate or overestimate their opponents. They think they're better, and once they're not, because when we're having interviews with Hiva, he's like, we sort of couldn't pull the trigger quick enough, even though, we're confident in our playstyle. I just want the veteran in the jungle, Maxler, to step inside his carry pants in the LEC. We've seen it only in one game. He's coming in with the biggest weight on his shoulders. He's gone to Worlds, he's seen it all, he stood above it all, but he couldn't make it through. Here, he should be breezing through the NLC, and we have yet to see that. So if Maxwell can have one of these performances like he had on Elise, where he finished the game in 20 minutes and he's gonna be even faster than this, I think that they're gonna pull through for sure.
Yeah, I think Max Law is a jungler that is used to kind of high-pressure situations that may play into his favor in one of these scenarios. And finally, the final team before we sort of grow up that first game, Nordavind, and we painted them as one of the most consistent teams in the league. And towards the end of the NLC, they started to falter. So what exactly happened with this roster?
I think in general, it's the decision making. They started out as a team with a lot of pressure in their lanes that made it easy for them to play and contest objectives. Then suddenly, when they didn't get that in these games, they felt really uncomfortable playing from behind. And that made them just pull the trigger on fights they should really not take instead of just scaling. And because of that, they have this kind of playstyle when if they're not ahead, they are overforcing plays. And I think Nolty in the jungle is one of these kind of players who like this aggressive style. When you are ahead in lanes, it's really easy for Nolty to shine and deliver as a jungler, but if his laners are not ahead, he kind of seems to be overforcing plays, and that is also why they sometimes lose games. They are on the same page, they're just not on the they're just on the wrong page, really.
Yeah. They're on the same page of the wrong book, basically. Yeah. I will agree with Goldborg on that. I feel like there are many overforced plays that put their star player Crispberg in a really tough spot, because playing the late game scale in ADCs that he can carry on like the likes of an Aphelios, he needs time, he needs items in his inventory to shine and carry the team fights through. And if you put him into a scenario where he doesn't want to fight, but he has to, because of 4 out of 5 players are already there in fight and he has to join them or they're going to lose anyway, he kind of has to take the gamble of the 50-50. And I just want to say Nordavind that doesn't take 50-50s anymore.
Guys, we have our game coming up pretty soon. We're going to have to get it started at 7 o'clock on the dot today. So before we go to a quick break, let's have a look at the predictions for these series. We'll bring up the graphic and...
That's wow, you, scoundrel.
I know. I went
Don't no. Don't turn it to me. Don't turn it to
me. Look, I've doubted Barrage a lot before, and I've been wrong, and I've been burnt. This time, I'm hoping the ship stays afloat and I can come out looking like an absolute savant. Otherwise, we have the only other prediction that has kind of shifted away from the norm is Orcs with Nordavind, but I'm not going to press on that just now. I'm going to talk to him about that in that second series. Guys, we are 10 minutes away from our first best of 3 in playoffs. After the break, we'll be jumping straight to picks and bans.
Watching the world go by under the moonlit sky. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. Sun-kissed and having fun, ocean to summer sun. It's the feeling, yeah, it's the feeling. We know what ain't gonna change, yeah, we know the stars will never fade. We'll never walk away, make this our real life, just you and me, right where I want to be. Right where I want to be.
and Coincidence is going to fall. Jack's still alive. He has to make a 1v9 performance here. Shikari takes him down. Monster have done it. They're into the base. It's the ace. Oh, that's a big wombo combo. Welcome to the bounce house. He connects and Monk actually just flashes into Yatran's face. The world grows. Monk gets the kill. 1 versus 4. Jack Spectre to keep him alive. He's still going in the middle of this fight. The taunt comes in. A master shuffle back by Sevix. But it's a double kill onto Jack Spectre. He's hunting Sevix down. Looking for the kill. Can he get it? Coincidence is going to fall down. It's a triple kill onto the Azir and Unforgiven. Finds himself. Oh my lord, a quadra. Sevix comes up massive.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are gearing up for that first best of 3 here, our loser bracket game, and I want to reiterate, it's like winner takes all in this situation. Loser goes home with nothing. If you win, you move through that lower bracket into the elimination match. If you lose, you're out of the tournament. All that hard work, especially for someone like Barrage, a team like Barrage, all that hard work that went into getting you to playoffs, you now need to do that again in a really high tense best of 3 scenario where, as we said, loser will walk away with absolutely nothing. You do not get a second shot at this. You are in the lower bracket already. So let's start to look towards these 2 teams. Let's look at this matchup specifically, and we will start with Godsent because they're a team that have really started to peak, Guldborg.
Yeah, I think that, as Trouble mentioned in the pre-show, it is a team that had a really shaky road in the beginning. But as they, got together in the split, build up that synergy, we really start to see a threat in Godsent. They're actually really good at being a skirmish-heavy team. We always see they like to draft these CC champions, Sejuani, Galio mid, all these characters that can do some pivotal fights around the Drakes and secure a lead around that. That is usually how Godsent plays. We saw them be topside focused in the beginning with Champion, but they have evolved beyond that and can actually play multiple styles now.
I'm already into draft here, but I think very briefly look at the other side of the coin in the form of Barrage. Now, as we go through the bans, we will obviously start to talk about that as soon as possible. But Barrage, I mean, I obviously voted for them, but why have the majority of us not gone for Barrage here?
I mean, I think they've just been shaky, right?
Tell him, Guldborg, tell him.
I mean, honestly, they've been a team that secured a lead, and when they have it, they just don't know how to close out games. I think that this Camille ban, I know Trouble has a lot to say about this, so I'm just going to throw it straight to her instead.
I think this is going to be a better top laner wins basically scenario. It is Champion versus Dreedy. We're getting the dream matchup, right? These guys basically play the same stuff. They play for the side lane. They want to win the side lane. Hell, they even finish games through the side lane. So I feel like these 2 teams should, because they're on the bottom of the barrel, they should try to play towards their win conditions. They have very strong top lane, and now they don't necessarily have to think of what the opponent plays because they play the exact same style. Now you gotta pick comfort. You gotta stay on comfort and make sure your solo players can do their job on whatever they are most comfortable with. I said comfortable 4 times now. I'm done.
You're quite comfortable with the word comfortable.
Very comfortable.
Just speaking about before we get the first pick and the final ban, I just remember another stake in this game. Barrage and Voxner and Godsent Champion actually attends the same school and goes on the same year, like they attend the same year. So this is not only them just playing for this game, this is them being the king of that school. So there's a rivalry between these 2 guys going on as well.
I love it. I love the little rivalry.
You took me back to Mean Girls, Guldborg. Back to Mean Girls.
I'm actually really interested as well because I feel like, especially with what you're referring to, Trouble, this could be like a red side favored draft, like in general, have that ability to find a counter pick in the top lane if it makes that much of a difference, if that's the style of draft that we see both these teams going for. Now we are into first pick, the Sona ban, obviously because of the prevalence of the Sona Lux bot lane, which is very not obnoxious to deal with, very harking back to the Sona Taric of old, but it is going to be a Karma lock-in immediately with a Senna Trundle Slam on the side of Godsent.
And this is the thing with Godsent. You specifically, X-Scoundrel, have been speaking about a lot of this Senna, how it's unsuccessful, specifically in our League 2. But Godsent is actually the exception to that. They are one of the teams that actually are taking wins with the champion. And 2 weeks in a row with Senna, they have actually been getting wins on the board. So this is a priority pick for Hoyes coming in from Godsent here.
This
I'm actually going to double check the stats.
2019 Summer Split Nordics Oh my god, it took me way far back. I'm loving to see the Kai'Sa. They want to play the scaling game, but what the Kai'Sa brings to me is, oh my god, I almost forgot him. Monk. Every time I think of Kai'Sa, I think of that one game where Monk actually carried, and it was through Kai'Sa being an absolute terror on a side lane. And we talked about better top laner winning. A Kai'Sa suddenly flying through your lane and winning you that 1v1 is going to be extremely important for them.
I just want to give a bit of context to what Goodbug just said about the Senna. I have just checked the stats here. 3 wins in total in the NLC. She's got a win rate of 27%.
Yikes.
So 2 of those wins apparently on Godsent. So they're in good place to actually make the Senna work here. The Bard gets locked in. We are going to the second ban phase now. Any idea about where these comps are shaping up? With the Bard Senna, are we expecting a farming Bard, or are we expecting Senna to take the gold in this particular situation?
We're expecting to see Senna take the gold. We have already seen this composition already coming out from Godsent. I don't know if you remember back to, I think it was a week or 2 ago, that Peterson was actually the guy who had a dream tempered fate on this Bard, where he completely nullified all of the ultimates who was going on to his AD carry. So this is also Godsent, who's just got a lot of comfort on their side. And not only that, we have seen that Bard apparently for some reason in our league is an extremely contested pick for a lot of the teams, and just a playmaking support that helps your team to execute fights better, to get their rotations in, and there's just a lot you can get out with this champion. So I like what Godsent is doing. They're just going straight for comfort.
I can't stop smiling. I'm seeing the Jax band right there, and I'm like, this is 100% top lane ban, because these guys want to play carries. These guys want to bring in the Fioras, the Wukongs, the skill matchups, and they don't want none of that nonsense. The Na is also out of the picture as well. These guys are banning anything that would make the life of a Bruiser absolute hell. So they're going to go at it in the top lane.
And not only that, as you said, Excandril, this is going to be red side favorite for these top laners. And that just means that Barrage needs to blind pick their top lane. And that's exactly what they don't want to do. Yeah, they're just taking away
Fiora ban.
And I understand this because, as Trouble said, this is going to be extremely topside focused between these 2 teams. They've got a really narrow champion.
In before they pick Ornn and Maokai.
Yeah,
completely trash that.
Up until this point, you don't want to be the guy blind picking a top laner, because that is exactly what they want from the other side, either as Godsent and Barrage. So as Trouble said, and you said, red side does have a favor in terms of this top lane matchup.
Before they pick Sion, before they pick Sion, legitimately.
You would love that, wouldn't you?
We also see it here, because they blind pick the Azir, which is extremely blind pickable, gives you priority in the mid lane, and they leave last pick for Champion. So Champion must be feeling so good right now. Remember, he has a Jace in the back of his pocket. So whatever sort of Bruiser or even Assassin Dreedy wants to put up in the top lane, Jace will have the upper hand. There's a lot of poke among him and the Senna and the Azir. So that would be a great composition for them. And with the Wukong locked in, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Jace or even the Renekton.
I think it's interesting that a priority pick that has been kind of these weak side, but obviously it's a strong side individual by himself, is Gangplank, that we really haven't seen a lot of. He's usually the guy that is just farming by himself, who's able to influence the map with his cannon barrage, and we've just not seen it at all here. Now
we're not farming here, Goldbog. What is this nonsense?
Sorry, I'm sorry about that. But as we've said, we actually have seen we've seen Champion play the likes of Ryze 2D. He started to play these control mages in topside too, so he's actually expanding his champion pool. But as Trouble said, it's Renekton.
It makes absolute sense here, yeah.
So guys, we have got a very brief moment before we head into the game. Can we break down the win conditions of these compositions? I think I'll start with you, Trouble. Which team would you like to break down? Which team would you like to have a look at?
I'm going to go with Barrage, because for me, they do have the chance to side lane here and go through Dreedy, feed that Wukong. They have an extremely powerful level 6 together with Flipper's Scanner, as well as a roaming Syndra. And for the late game, they have the insurance of a Kai'Sa flying into your lane if Dreedy's having a really bad time. So you can team fight with the Wukong and the Syndra and the Kai'Sa, but you can also choose to split if things go completely south and you have lost a massive objective like the Elder or like the Baron.
And obviously on the side of Godsent, I'm just going to take that one. I don't want to repeat Barrage, obviously. So just really quickly, as we said, they like to play through priority here, and they're a skirmish-heavy team. They got a lot of CC in every kit of their champion. They can even pair up the Trundle Pillar with the Bard stun as well, if you're good enough at pulling something like that off. So I'm going to expect a lot of pressure coming out from Godsent in the early game, and then just taking the lead through these skirmishes, and then just scale into the late game with the Drakes, with the Heralds that you're getting.
Well, guys, we've summed up that win conditions here. We've got a special guest casting this first best of 3. Medic is with Orcs. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Excoundrel. Orcs, you're the special guest. Did you hear?
Yeah,
that's quite
I'm
exciting,
honored.
man.
I am blessed. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you on the show, my man. I'm really looking forward to the game today. I think that the 2 series, so the 2 best of 3s we have, with it, you having this like lower bracket, upper bracket system, it makes these games so much more exciting, especially for teams like Barrage and Godsent that didn't have the best splits, but now have the opportunity to prove themselves as deserving of a shot at European Masters.
Yeah, I think there's a wide scope because obviously we had groups of 6, 4 teams made it through, but it's not much of an opportunity because Godsent and Barrage are both potentially going home after this series. So they would have only had a taste of playoffs if they can't make it through here. They're on the cusp of potentially pushing further, but this series is where they can lose that chance.
You just got to win. You just got to win, Orcs. It's the only way that you get more chances in playoffs.
Just destroy the Nexus.
50 extra gold, man. 50 extra gold. What would you do for 50 extra gold? I mean, I'm a support main. That's like 2-3 wards worth of it's 10. It's 5 trinket wards, right? That's a lot of extra.
Yeah, I'd probably go for health potion. You know, I think really powerful in the right situations. You invest in it. You know, if you take a bad trade, it can help you out. That is my 50 gold spend of the day. If you're trying to balance your budget, that's what you should be looking at, getting a health potion.
See, I'm a futures market control ward kind of guy, right? You got to get the extra vision down. We do just have we have a slight pause before we get on into the game, but I want to come back to a little bit about these drafts because I haven't got the chance to cast on 10-15 yet, and it's so interesting to me to see the Skarner picked up really early on. Of course, he did get some changes on 10-15, but I've talked to a few people, and they say like his early game is actually not as strong as it used to be, but his late game is a lot more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, he's now got percentage HP on his Crystal Slash. So if you're dealing with the likes of a Renekton or a Trundle, who are going to have quite a bit of max HP, he's actually doing a lot more damage in the later stages. But again, as you said, the early game has been hit. He's missing out on that total AD. But ultimately, this was never about the early game. You can't contest a Trundle. In fact, when Trundle first came into the jungle, it was a meta dominated by Olaf and Skarner. He was picked up as a counter. So the matchup's never going to be fun early. I actually feel like it's still going to be a struggle later on. But the reason you pick that Skarner is because if you find the right angle with that ultimate, you can really look to threaten some of the carries on the side of Godsent. If someone's overextended, if, you know, C-Boy champion step too far forwards, you can make that pick and you can play around the extra movement speed from the Karma. So it definitely has its weaknesses in this situation, especially since they picked it into the Trundle. But it's clearly Flipper saying, okay, I know that that's going to be a problem. I'm looking to use the ultimate and to make up for that deficiency.
And that's kind of how Barrage and Flipper have tended to play across the course of the split. Like, you were talking to me earlier about the sort of mid-jungle duos and how C-Boy sort of unlocks Mikma sometimes early on in the game, whereas Flipper and Jadran don't tend to team up that much, and it's more about, you know, scaling and then having stronger team fights later on.
Yeah, which is why, I mean, honestly, in this game, I like that Jadran's gone for the Syndra, because I very much could have seen him go for the Veigar in this situation. We've seen that before, where he'll just say, oh, Azir, Veigar shuts him down late game. It's great against these many champions. But the problem is you don't offer enough in the early game. And as much as I think C-Boy's a brilliant jungler, I do think his team enables him. And then by that, he can enable them as well. Whereas Flipper tends to be a little more like, okay, my teammates are doing their own thing. I'll just run around and see what I can get done. So I like that they're playing for this mid priority, and I want to see Jadran do this more, because I think you can't just sit back and pick Castadin on Veigar and not have an impact and expect to come out ahead.
And we'll see if Barrage are able to utilize some of that early priority. You know, of course, Spire is so important for Skarner. If you can control those in the river, you get so much more dueling power. And although, as you said, you don't really want to be dueling a Trundle because you tend to lose out, if you can make those skirmishes 2v2, 3v3, and actually force C-Boy back into his own jungle, force C-Boy away from some of those points of contest on the map, you can definitely get a little bit of an early lead. We do still have this pause going on. I believe it's one of the players just having a couple of issues with lag. We'll be back on into the game as soon as possible. But I want to talk a little bit more about Godsent here, Orcs, because I was here for I was here a couple of weeks ago, right? And Godsent were kind of on the rise. They were improving. They looked good. But then I watched last week and I saw them beat Nordavind in the tiebreaker game. And it was kind of a transformation for them. They seem to have just gone from strength to strength over the last course of the split.
Well, I think initially when we looked at Godsent, we were like, okay, there's Champion and the rest. And I think they've sort of transitioned to a team with more relevant threats. I think one of the big criticisms levied, well, it's not really criticism, it was like a backhanded compliment on Hoyes, was that he's the best weak side bot laner. And it's like, well, that's great, but you don't want to be a weak side bot lane in this current meta. You don't want to be playing safe so that Champion can do his thing. And I think we've seen a transition from them where they're much more willing to sort of fight the opposing teams and challenge in this bot lane. I think Hoyes has stepped up considerably. I think Pedersen on Bard has honestly just been stellar when he got his hands on that. So I think we're now seeing a more whole Godsent who is willing to rely on different areas of the map rather than just going, okay, we have a top lane split push win condition. That is how we win this. Otherwise, we're going to be pretty doomed. And I think really we're looking at C-Boy to enable that. I think particularly in this game against ENCE, he was a massive factor in that one. And it's just his intelligence with regards to jungle pathing, reading the enemy jungler. So I'm on the lookout for what he can do here against Flipper.
It does feel a little bit like this composition is more weak side bot lane, though. You know, when I see a Senna, when I see a Bard who can get out of the lane quite easily, and you have a Senna who can farm relatively easily in the bottom side of the map, and then you see a Renekton picked on red side 5th pick as a counter pick into the Wukong, it makes me feel more like Godsent are going to focus on the top side of the map and try and get this Renekton ahead if they can. We'll see if that's what they do as we do continue to wait for these issues to get resolved. But Barrage, on the other hand, Orcs, this, by the way, all my research is just going out now, right? Like, this is all the studying I've done.
This is what we do it for.
I have LEC stuff to do this week. I'm doing a bunch of secret projects as well. I've only got so much time to dedicate to this, and I've got it all on this page in front of me. It's just going to come out. It's going to go out. Oh, wait, no, it's not. I can save it. We have a 3-minute pause, guys. We're going to go to a quick break before we get back. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Nothing is as it seems. I feel like I'm in a dream, but that's where I wanna be. And I feel free for the first time. And I feel free for the first time. For the first time. For the first time. For the first time. And I feel free for the first time. And I feel free for the first time.
must be dreaming. Think I saw a ghost. Or was it an angel of the past that we all know? Ain't got the answers, but I hold the hope. So I'm holding on to the love, embracing the unknown. Now I'm dancing to the music. I'll just keep dancing till I lose it. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling. Yeah, it's all that I've been needing. Feel it, feel it. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. If I'm dreaming, I don't wanna know. 'Cause this is all I need, a perfect story told. I ain't got the answers, I still hold the hope. So I'm holding on to the love, embracing the unknown. Now I'm dancing to the music. I'll just keep dancing till I lose it. Yeah, I got that Friday feeling. Yeah, it's all that I've been needing. Feel it, feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Love is all we need. 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 Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. Feel it, you're feeling good. So good.
So we look into the void, and we know things have to change. Your very presence gives me hope. All your strength and all your grace. It's our time to lead the way. Hey. Well, the night is young, and the futures are so never let go. Never let go.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. You're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. Love like Bonnie and Clyde. Love like right till we die. Down like thieves in the night. If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now.
Hello and welcome back to the NLC. We are just getting the draft remade and should be back on into the game between Godsent and Barrage as soon as possible. I'm Medic. This guy on this side, yes, is Orcs. And we're going to bring you this first best of 3. Yeah, mate, look, okay? It's difficult. Things are reversed. It's hard. Okay, Orcs?
Yeah, I get it. You know, if you look at each other, it almost seems like we're in the same room.
Oh, yeah. You okay? Yeah.
Hey, how you going? Yeah, I'm
doing well,
good.
mate. All right, let me just mute my microphone so it's, yeah, doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready for the series? You excited?
I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'm hoping the team's still feeling on fire. It's a tense moment. Lose this and you're out. So not much wiggle room, really, especially with it being a best of 3. This first game, super important for momentum. You want to make your stamp in the playoffs run. You want to be putting yourself in that easy position to go through to the next round.
Yeah, and of course, the winner of this will play the loser of BTXO versus Tricked in another elimination match, and then have another elimination match after that. Well, in fact, it's all elimination matches for them from here on out, but they are hoping that they can get to those grand finals after playing 4 series in total. It's a long road for them. We're going to get on into the game for the first step of it. Barrage versus Godsent. Now, I want to talk a little bit about early jungle pathing here and early jungle strategy, Orcs, because I know you are a jungle aficionado. I know you know a lot about this role. What is your expectation from these? Yeah, I mean, it's very broken. Oh, wait, might not even have time. Oh, the cosmic binding. Then Voxnate just steps to the side of it.
What a dodge.
Yeah, mate,
saw it coming.
Such a beast. Such a beast. But yeah, talk to me about what you expect these junglers to do early on.
So I really think here, C-Boy is the one who needs to be having the agency. You want to be challenging Flipper, and you basically want to make Flipper's life difficult before he gets level 6. So something we've seen from C-Boy before is potential map splits, potential invades, and looking to capitalize on that and try and force the map into a favorable situation for you. What he often does is he'll limit camps down to and not finish them off, so that obviously delays Flipper's level up process. But it looks like here he's just going to be starting on the red buff. I want to see him put a lot of agency towards his top side. I think bot side, you're going to be lacking a bit of priority in the bot lane just because of the karma. But I think you want to be playing for this Renekton, ultimately. I think that should be your goal. And if you can enable that, you can't really be matched in the 2v2. Because essentially Druidi and Flipper are never going to be able to beat a Renekton and Trundle post level 3. And as much as like invading Flipper will hold him back, I don't think it's necessarily a necessity. Because if you get the Renekton strong enough, then Flipper's really going to be limited on what he can do around the map. Because any situation the Renekton looks to join, whether it be by TP or just by proximity, this Skarner will get annihilated. And again, just quickly, what you highlighted before, Skarner changes, a little bit weaker in the early game. So even less he can do.
Right now, he is doing a full top side clear, has done his his wolves, and now is going blue into Golem. The Spire, of course, you want to sit just at the edge of that Gives you all of that extra mana regeneration, attack speed, move speed. Just it's a bonus to Scorpions everywhere. As Captain Flowers would say, it makes you more of a meatball or something along those lines. He has the weirdest metaphors, I'll be honest. But going quite low here, does still have the smite if he wants to use it, so he should be fine at clearing that out. In the bottom lane, we see early push coming out from Nightmares and Denvoxne. This is expected. Karma is so good at gaining priority in a lane. You can see they have actually denied Hoyes quite a lot of CS in these first couple of waves. There's 4 left there. So even if Hoyes manages to pick all of these up, he's going to be about 6 to 7 farm behind.
Yeah, and he just has to stay in with the bar to withstand this, but it's obviously soaking a lot of pressure, losing a lot of farm, taking a lot of poke, and it just means that C-Boy, you can see his pathing here, he went from the red to the blue, and then he cleared the camps and looped back up towards top side. So if you look at Champion, he's able to push up pretty heavily, and he knows his jungle is in the vicinity to help out and assist. So this is very much what was talked about, C-Boy playing towards his Renekton. He wants to be able to find that early advantage, and he can also play around the priority to get this scuttle in the lockdown. But that does mean Flipper has a pretty easy time pushing down for that bot side scuttle and supporting Denvoxne and Nightmares playing really aggressive.
Yeah, and I like what Denvoxne and Nightmares did. You know, they got pushed, then they got these 2 wards into the river, one up by the Grump and Blue buff, one over there by the Dragon Pit. And it really gives you awareness on where C-Boy's going to be, right? Because you've been able to get these wards in, you can try and stop C-Boy from getting any pressure on the bottom side of the map. C-Boy has to play up towards that top side. As much as that's what he wants to do, it means you are isolating Hoyes and Pedersen in this bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and ultimately it's going to stop Pedersen from making any moves on the Bard. He's kind of locked a lane because you're cautious about a potential dive coming in if Flipper just lean down there. They know whether or not C-Boy's nearby, and essentially just locks them into this 2v2, which has not been a fun time so far.
Right now, you can see they are just struggling a little bit. Haven't seen either of the junglers have a gank or a big impact on the map yet. Both have gone back. Predator boots first for Flipper, so we'll see if he tries to impact one of his lanes or whether he's willing just to continue to farm up. Dreedy has fallen a little bit behind in the top side. He's on the weak side of the map for Barrage, so it's kind of to be expected. And you're kind of weighing up the balance between how far can we get Denvoxne ahead and how much impact would Dreedy have if he's behind. At the moment, there's about a 10 CS difference in the top lane in favor of Godsent and in the bottom lane in favor of Barrage. And if they can keep it like that, you have to hope that Denvoxne on this Kai'Sa can impact the fights later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the goal, and especially if you have the potential target isolation from Flipper or the dive from Dreedy, it's an opportunity for Denvoxne to follow up, and you should want to have your Kai'Sa pretty fed in that situation, so any even tankier target you pick up, like C-Boy or Champion, will get taken out. Now, we do see Godsent, they have C-Boy lean down there, they're able to try and contest the priority and look for the dragon, but we might see Barrage just contest this one. Flipper is in the vicinity, does have the Predator available. Actually, Mikma going for a reset.
Oh yeah, Migma reset. It does mean he could teleport into this. I'll see if they want to keep going for it, but Godsent had set down some wards in the river to try and control the area. Pedersen was forced back in the bottom lane, but now he's able to join up with C-Boy and gain some control once again. Migma TP'd into the mid lane. Jadrin's going to match him. Both of them have a lost chapter now, and because Godsent got the push in the bottom lane, they think they are safe to do this. They are on a ward. Flipper's Smite about to come off cooldown, but he's on a ward from Godsent as well. Could Blast Cone in, flash out, but that feels like a big investment. You kind of want level 6 on the Skarner with that flash. He goes in, teleport already used by Godsent to slide in onto Flipper. He's almost dead. First blood goes down to Godsent. Champion on the back line now with the exhaust is caught out, but the Dominus coming in, the slice and dice onto Nightmares. Dreedy jumping in, trying to kill off Pedersen, takes the magical journey, and Pedersen tries to flash away, but can't get out of there in time. Champion gets one, Dreedy gets another, and now Denvoxne is in all kinds of hurt. Does still have the flash. Who's going to get the dragon secured by Jadrin? Denvoxne gets underneath the tower, and C-Boy chomps him down. Will fall for it, though, and Denvoxne gets a kill in return.
Looks like Dreedy's still trying to get away here, but...
He should be fine. Mikma does have flash, but he's got no Emperor's Divide.
Yeah, just honestly a really messy situation there. Godsent starting the dragon early. Realistically, I think you should have waited for Mikma to get the reset and TP in, and then you would have been able to have him roam down and assist in the fight. It did work out relatively okay for them after that, but the big result is they lost the dragon. That should never have happened. They pushed away so much of Barrage, they had control of the area, and yet they still ended up breeding and chasing the kills instead of the dragon. So you can see in this situation, the impact of the Azir is absolutely massive. The damage coming out here just completely eliminates Flipper. And then they have Champion TPing early, and that is a critical thing that really gave them the favor in this fight. But you see Champion chases down towards the bot side, the rest of the team follows up there, and they just completely forget about the dragon. That's the thing that really cost them there, because if you change that play and Godsent secure the dragon, I say that's a good play for them. But the fact that they just ignored it ends up really putting it heavily in the favor of Barrage. They've now secured that dragon. It means that they're going to be close to that soul condition, and ultimately Godsent just kind of fluffing it.
Totally agree with you, and you have to look at where the kills have ended up on either side. Both the mid laners picking up one, then Voxnay getting another from that kind of fluffed tower dive means that he's now in a really good spot with his BF sword, just the pickaxe of Hoys. And in the top lane, things have kind of evened out. You know, Dreamy's been able to pick up the Ninja Tabis early on. Flipper, very greedy here. The Emperor Survive's going to knock him back. He does land the Impale, but Migma's had flash this entire time. Flipper, well, he's tossed the coin on this play and it's come up tails.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what that was. Ultimately, whenever I look at junglers like your Skarners, your Nocturnes, that have these super high impact ultimate, I always try and look at, okay, the first ult. Oh, might be seeing a bit more trading from in bot lane.
I think it's just going to be a trade for now. Jadran not going to go over to C-Boy. But yeah, when you look at junglers with these ultimates.
Yeah, so I think when you have these high impact ultimates like Nocturne Skarner, I'm always measuring how much do you get off them. So hopefully your first Skarner ult, you get a kill, you translate into a Herald. That's sort of a great situation. But unfortunately,
these teams don't want you to talk, man.
No, they just want to fight all the time.
At all. Rift Herald down to 2,000 HP here. The eye will open in just a second. C-Boy's going to dance around the edge of it to see if he can get forward, but the eye's on the wrong side. Flipper could look for the eye into Smite here. C-Boy stepping forward, gets stunned into the Cyclone. The Smite comes down. Migma unleashed power on him. Won't quite do enough damage, but he's been shut down. The Rift Herald was picked up by C-Boy, I believe, and now Champion's trying to get away with the Dominus ticking, but Flipper and Dreedy are on the chase. Dawning Shadow coming out gives Champion a little bit of a shield, and there's the call to Meek, and Flipper once again on the wrong side of the Rift. And in Battle of the Junglers, C-Boy is winning out.
And again, it's just Flipper. You don't have the ult in that situation. You try and overcommit after the play's already gone. He's just dying again and again. And honestly, I think Flipper had a fine early game in this situation. Yeah, no talking here. Oh, no, okay, he'll get away. Flipper had a fine early game in the situation, avoided C-Boy, managed to get ahead and farm, but since then, he's just kind of honestly been running it. Just ran it into that dragon fight, got picked off, tried to dive into the tower against Nazir, which is never a good plan. And then at that Herald fight, you lost the Herald, sure, but you'd already gotten a kill lead, so I think you just take that and back away. Him dying actually has cost his top lane tower, and it's putting Dreedy even further behind, so Flipper really just not on point so far this game, whereas C-Boy has been finding these windows on this Trundle. And again, the Trundle is strong right now. Flipper is only able to match him if he gets an effective Impale, but C-Boy will win out in the longer fights.
You can see the gold lead that's been built up for Champion over that course of plays. 1,500 gold ahead. There is a 900 gold lead for Den Voxnay in the bottom lane, but across the board, it's looking very, very good for Godsent. If they can translate the advantage they have in C-Boy and Champion onto the other side of the map now, even perhaps looking for Champion to push in the Rift Tower bot, but a top lane side, but Dreedy will stop it. What I'd love to see now is you bring Champion down. You've got 30 seconds on the dragon. You can force for the second dragon and try and make Barrage fight you, because at the moment, I don't think Barrage should be taking fights, but they seem to be opting into them.
Yeah, I mean, they keep trying to challenge despite the fact that they are struggling. Flipper not having Impale, Flipper being on a Skarner early, and yet they still opt into these. And if Renekton joins this fight, I think Barrage should just opt out. Let Dreedy get some alone time topside, let him pick up some plates. Ultimately, you got that first dragon, so you don't need to contest this second one. I think it's a massive mistake if they do try anyway, though.
Flipper has Flash, Impale, Unleash Power available for Jadran. Killer Instinct is up for Den Voxnay as well, but Tempered Fate hits Jadran. That's the target you want, and he does not have the time to flash away. He's divided back, and the Emperor will find his man. C-Boy picks up the kill, and once again, what are you doing, Barrage? You don't step into vision like that. Good credit, of course, to Godsent for finding the kill, but Barrage, they had a couple of good plays, and it feels like they're just over-eager to take these fights.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to step up in that position. I think you back away from the dragon. You now lose this kill. And on top of that, Dreedy has just walked all the way down to mid lane. So it's not even like you're getting something across the map. He could be picking up plates right now. The Voxnay potentially could have got another plate here, but instead you're trying to fight an objective that's completely unnecessary. You lose it anyway, but you also give over a kill, and now you're just even further behind. Barrage need to understand when to cut their losses and trade cross map.
We will get a couple more plates in the bottom lane. 4 down on that turret right now. Flipper's going to try and shadow his support and AD carry, just in case they wanted to push any further, but not going to do it. A big CS margin has been built up in that bottom lane. 30 farm ahead. Essence Reaver now complete on Den Voxnay. So he's in a really strong position. Also, the Luden's complete on Jadran. So, like, Barrage have some powerful players on their side. They're just not as strong as C-Boy and Champion are right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that really Barrage could be looking for right now, is playing around isolated picks. If you don't want to contest in the 5v5 necessarily, you have the Impale, you have the Killer Instinct to follow up, you have just the burst power for Syndra. So if you find someone isolated, there's definitely targets you can pick apart and take down pretty quickly. But I think in a full 5v5, if Champion and C-Boy are there, it's going to be too difficult right now. These two champions spike really hard in the mid game, and by all means, they should be avoided.
See if Barrage decide to heed your words of advice, Orcs, your sage guidance that you are giving to him like a wise man, coming to the baby Jesus and offering your gifts of analytical knowledge as Flipper caught out in the river. I don't know where that was going. Obviously, I'm in a holiday mood today, Orcs, but still only 1,000 gold lead overall for Godsent. They do have relatively good scaling on their side. Renekton, he's kind of like this champion that is known to fall off, but utilized correctly can still be really strong when the game progresses, especially since, you know, we see some of these defining plays usually around the 24 to 28 minute mark. He's still really strong right there, especially if he has a gold lead. The only good thing for Barrage is they got that first dragon, right? So we're not going to see a soul fight at 3 minutes, 22 minutes. We're going to see a soul fight at 28, 29 minutes instead. And that just gives them that little bit more time to get Dreedy into a good spot.
Yeah, it gives you a lot more space to play towards, gives you a bit more time to let Den Voxnay scale up and be more relevant on the Kai'Sa. Actually going for a bit of an interesting build. I have seen this before once, but I can't quite remember where. But essentially giving yourself a ton of attack damage early. The Serrated Dirk, as far as I remember, you don't actually finish it into anything. It's just there to give a lot of AD. You max out on your Q evolution, and you're able just to burst heavily with that ability. So a big early spike in that regard, compared to the Manamune, which typically for a Kai'Sa takes a long time to really stack up. So this is to me, Den Voxnay saying he wants to be relevant as soon as possible. And if they do pick someone off with Flipper and Impale them, he should just be able to burst them down in a quick rotation.
It's a really interesting build. I'm going to watch his next Decathian Rain to see if he's got the 12 particles out of it yet. Seems, didn't see it last time. I think it was only 6, but we'll watch Den Voxnay as he goes through. Is that little grayed out thing, does that mean it's evolved?
Yeah, he's got evolved.
Okay,
it'd have the yellow bar otherwise.
Oh, yeah. You are correct. C-Boy here, stunned out. Going to use the QSS. He built that pretty much first time. Now he's impaled back. Here comes the Dawning Shadow, but C-Boy is done for. He was fighting in the river. Champion now trying to come in. Flipper maybe caught out. They jump onto the back line, and Jadran is dead. They're looking for more as there's the double for the Crocodile. Very hungry in his native habitat in the river. Den Voxnay is going to get forced away here, and Godsent should just be able to secure their second Rift Herald of the game.
Just an overreach. I mean, essentially, you could see how they were like, oh, C-Boy's here. We'll try pick him. Never mind, we'll back away. Oh, he burnt his QSS. Let's go for it. There's a lot of hesitation from Barrage ultimately, and it gave time for Champion to arrive. And the concept of the pick is a good idea, but when Champion arrives, you need to already be gone. You can't be running away. You need to be nowhere near this Renekton because he just absolutely decimated them. And they should just be a Herald pickup for the side of Godsent. I mean, you can see Flipper running over, but C-Boy already there. And again, it's just more going in favor of the side of Godsent. Barrage, another mistake, in all honesty.
Yeah. I mean, it's really good timing for Godsent as well, because you get this Rift Herald, you reset, stock up as some control wards, and then go across towards the dragon, and you have the Rift Herald for extra pressure.
Absolutely, and you know, you can just group Champion up with you. You got a good wave in the top lane that someone needs to answer. You have Dreedy who's dealing with the wave in the bot side. This is a perfect setup for you to get control of this dragon and start chaining them together so you can work towards that soul win condition. Especially when, you know, there's things like Dreedy, who obviously him getting in range of the backline is pretty important. The extra movement speed from a Cloud Soul can come in pretty critical.
It really can. Obviously, Barrage trying to gain some control over the top side river. 17 minutes in, they are pretty much even on gold. And I do want to give him credit for that. You know, you see Dreedy's actually got a CS advantage, although he won't have a gold advantage over Champion right now. And you can see in the bottom lane, there's that 50 to 60 CS advantage for Denvoxnay. He's got his Zerka Greaves. He's got a lot of attack speed with those daggers. They are willing to give up this dragon, which is good from Barrage. But at some point, they are going to have to start finding these fights. And what are they getting for this dragon? Well, Flipper is looking for an engage onto Mikma. Isn't going to be able to find it. The turret, that's going to be chunked down at least by Jadron here. Maybe even going to fall as those AP enhanced auto attacks rain down. But you are giving pressure over in the middle side of the map. You don't have control over mid lane. And with the Rift Herald available, C-Boy could use this as an opportunity to open up the map just that little bit more. But here comes Flipper looking for Pedersen. Isn't going to get the Impale, knocked back with the pillar, and he flashes in. There's the Impale, but the Tempered Fate is going to stop it in its tracks. And with the TP coming in, you know Mikma's ready to party. Flipper almost falls, the Cyclone goes out. Flipper's still alive on the back line, but here comes Champion. And with a single slice of the Cold and Meek, he'll find one. He goes down, though, and that's a big bounty over to Dreedy. And
a massive win out there from Barrage.
Huge win. Huge win.
And now they can push up. They've essentially just denied that push coming out from Godsent. They had the numbers to respond and might be in a little bit of trouble here, but the stun.
Huge stun as Hoyes goes down. Another falls shortly after. Pedersen, the one to die. C-Boy will go down as well. And that was a great fight from Barrage. I want to watch that one again.
Yeah, just honestly, some really clutch play there coming out from Barrage. They felt confident to challenge them there. They used the Skarner to try and pick off immediately on Hoyes. And you can see, as much as it is a very elongated situation, the critical thing is it's not Champion TPing in here. If this is Champion TPing, they could have just easily burst through Flipper, found advantage, but tons of damage done by Denvoxnay. Flipper's able to get out initially, and then it's Champion overextending to finish off the kill. Not to look for a winning fight, but just to get that one kill. And then this stun here from Jadron was just absolutely pivotal. It felt like Godsent, you know, thinking they're safe under the tower, thinking they're safe on the back of that Tempered Fate, but ultimately Barrage were more ready for the fight and they really took it to them. The burst and the execution there was pivotal in finding those kills.
It's just got so much burst on that team right now. You've got the unleashed power from a Syndra who has her nullifying Oblivion Orb, that's what it's called. Oblivion Orb and her Luden's Echo complete. You've got that serrated Dirk Essence Reaver build coming out from Denvoxnay. And then you also have the Triforce Burst on Dreedy for that pure burst in some of these fights. Because Godsent are a squishy team. Like, if you get past Champion and C-Boy, Mikma, Hoyes, and Pedersen are going to die very quickly if you jump on them. You can see Barrage doing such a good job of that. They now have a 4,000 gold lead. In a very strong position, clearing out this top side jungle. Champion on the bottom side doesn't have the TP, so wouldn't be able to join if a fight started. And look at that gold difference in the bottom lane. Yeah. 2,700 gold between the two teams. In the top lane, which is the lead we were looking for Godsent, that's come down to only about 400 gold difference.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. We talked about the Renekton falling off and how if he maintains a lead, he can keep himself enabled. But now when you're only, 500 gold against a Wukong, you're not really too relevant. Barrage, feeling confident to start up the Baron here. I think they just want to look for a fight off the back of this.
Well, I mean, Champion has to run across. Right? He has to waddle his little alligator legs and try and get across here as soon as possible because this Baron is already down to 4,000 HP. No flash available on the Trundle. He's been knocked back. C-Boy, how are you going to get in there? There's no blast going for you. The Tempered Fate will stop them. And here comes Champion and here comes Godsent. Maybe the fight that they needed. They're not deciding what they want to do as Dreedy jumps in. Flipper's still on the Baron here, but then Voxnay's already gone on a killing spree. And the Dawning Shadow coming out, the smite goes down. It's secured by Barrage, and now Champion's knocked back. Flipper will die. Jadron will probably shortly follow as well as he gets stunned up with the Cosmic Binding. Hoy's jumping in. The Unleashed Power will take him down, and Jadron might be able to turn this one around. The slow from the Dark Spear. C-Boy, Pedersen, Champion. I'm not sure you want to take this fight. That's Syndra. And that's Denvoxnay hitting the long range. Void Seeker. Barrage with a great fight.
Yeah, it really felt like at the end, Hoy's thinking, oh, we got the Syndra, and then suddenly realizing you are next to a Syndra. Confident play coming out from Barrage, decisive to start the Baron up, and they end up getting the smite despite C-Boy being there. So it works out favorably, a little bit risky, but the execution was there in the team fights, and the gold lead backing them up. Ultimately, their target selection has been really solid here, and it's just one click from Denvoxnay, one click from Jadron at Dreedy, and someone dies from the side of Godsent. If Godsent just aren't finding the space to maneuver these team fights, we'll be able to see it again here. And the Tempered Fate was great at stalling this out, but just watch Mikma. He just gets absolutely decimated here by Demvoxne and Dreedy. Just that damage coming out from the Kai'Sa is insane. And you've lost your Azir. That's just sustained DPS down. And then the rest of the team can't really find access. They do chase over, but suddenly you realize you're next to a Syndra. I mean, the flash wasn't really going to do anything there. And then the final snipe coming in from Demvoxne just pushes things even more in favor of Barrage. Even if those 2 exit kills don't happen, Barrage still win here. But the fact they get those as well just really is the icing on the cake.
Now they have a 6,000 gold lead, and I'll be honest with you, Orcs, coming into this series, I looked at Godsent, I looked at their recent form, I looked at their win versus Nordabin, and I was like, okay, Godsent should have this one. Like, this should be a win for Godsent. Even like looking at some of the matchups, Seaboy and Champion have looked better to me than Dreedy and Flipper. Jadran hasn't looked as good at influencing the map as Mikma, and Demvoxne and Nightmares have been good, but Hoyes has really stepped up recently, and I thought, this should be it. Barrage should be knocked out of the NLC, but here they're showing just how powerful they can be as a team. They're trying to sync up their waves as Dreedy and Jadran bring in the bottom one. Demvoxne pushing in towards mid. Hoyes is going to try and defend. It's going to be a 4v4 in the bottom lane with Seaboy just hanging around the edge, but Flipper jumps in, and goodbye Azir. No soldiers can save the Emperor. No bodyguard is fit to stop a Scorpion flashing in and stinging you. And now in a 4v5, Barrage are going to push in. I love keeping Demvoxne in the middle lane here. Just adds that extra pressure, adds that extra point where Godsent have to react. They have to do something, because right now their inhibitor tower in the mid lane is already down to half. The jump in from Champion, but Dreedy and Flipper are doing so much work. Flipper's just about to die. The Dawning Shadow comes out. Dreedy able to dodge away with the Warrior Trickster. And Hoyes almost gets caught out with a Dark Spear. Inhibitor tower in the mid lane falls, then Voxnade's going to back away, and Barrage have found what they were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, they get the inhibitor tower, they don't get anything more, and Godsent do negate the push for now, but still, we've seen a 7.5k gold lead coming out here. And I mean, Flipper is just a sacrificial lamb in this game. It's like Barrage don't care what happens to him. If he dies countless times, he is just an impale bot at this point. But the rest of the team have been playing excellently. And I think the critical thing is that we've seen Barrage finding the CS advantages, finding the better waves, whereas Godsent, they've been looking to group, they've not been respecting the side waves, and then it's just this consistency from Barrage to pick up any CS they can, to pick up these jungle camps, and it's led them to getting a sizable gold lead. And even when they were behind, they weren't behind significantly. And then when they did find the team fight advantage, they did find the team fight win, suddenly the gold lead just explodes in their favor. And right now, it is really scary for Godsent, because even someone who is strong like the Renekton can't step up without just getting absolutely blown up. And for the likes of Mikma and Hoyes, they are just permanently under threat.
4,000 gold lead in the mid lane, 3,000 in the AD carry role last time I saw it. And it's not just that, it's levels. Mikma's only just dinged over to 14. Jadran already at 15. Then Voxnae has a 3-level lead. Even Dreedy is ahead. And he was the guy that was meant to be shut down in the early game. So it's 3,000 mid, 4,000 in the AD carry role. So still very, very powerful here for Barrage. So Dragon up in 2 minutes. There's a Baron up in 2 as well. You have to think Barrage will look for that Baron to try and close out this game. I wonder if Dreedy could actually just win the 1v1 here. He's a little bit, well, he's definitely playing the weak side of the map. You can see how many wards Godsent have compared to the wards from Barrage. But Barrage just trying to gain control over this top side. They're looking for that tier 2.
Yeah, really just choking the map out away from Godsent. The thing is, getting the tower here is nice, but it also establishes the vision control for when that Baron does spawn in a minute. And it's so hard for Godsent to step up and try and contest it with the threat of the Skarner, the Karma movement speed, and the burst potential this team has. No one is safe. You know, Steve Boy stepping up here does just walk away. They're not willing to commit the CC when he has the QSS, but if he does get caught out, the burst is so real and so threatening. And the thing is, I don't think it necessarily gets better for Godsent if this game goes later, because right now, you know, Kai'Sa's going to outscale, Karma's going to outscale, Syndra still remains very relevant. The Wukong's going to be more powerful than the Renekton in the later stages. So realistically, you can't just sit back and say, well, eventually we'll come online. It's really, they need to find a window to approach this. They need to be threatening this backline of Barrage, and they need to put them in uncomfortable positions. I think Baron spawning in 30 seconds, you need to find some sort of a flank, and I want to see Champion directly threatening Jadran and Demvoxne. Make it messy, make it difficult for Barrage, not just an easy sit back and press your buttons and blow someone up.
I mean, one of the few windows you have is when Flipper's flash is down. Godsent could look to do something. In the last couple of fights, we've seen Mikma just absolutely isolated. He doesn't have a QSS. He's finished Leandri's Nash's Tooth. He needs the damage. I understand it. But if Flipper can just flash impale you, it makes it so much more difficult for you to be able to find a position in the fight. We also saw Hoyes isn't even at 60 stacks on his Absolution yet, right? Like, he doesn't have that really long range that Senna utilizes so well in teamfights, sitting at 49.
Oh,
that's
that is
like
awful.
that's so bad, right? It's so low, even for a farming Senna, right? Like, that's one of the lowest I've seen in a long time. Usually you'd be up to like 60, 70, almost 80 by now. And 80 gives you 100 extra range. Like, this is a huge disadvantage for Hoyes, especially against a team comp that loves to get up close and personal, that loves to get in your face. And that's exactly what Barrage are trying to do, right? If Hoyes oversteps, immediately unleash power, killer instinct, cyclone, impale. Like, you are just caught out so rapidly, and it's going to be a very tricky fight for Godsent to navigate. They have some good ward control in their own jungle, but they don't have any past that line of the river. At the moment, Den Voxnay is just soloing out the Cloud Drake. It will put them on soul point. That's going to be a 33-minute soul or thereabouts. Godsent can't do anything about it. In fact, ping's here for Dreedy to engage on Champion. Perhaps they're looking for that killer instinct, but Barrage can take whatever they want off the map because Godsent have no control whatsoever.
Yeah, and they're just clearing multiple jungle camps from, you know, several quadrants of the map, not just their own. They're clearing out the dragon, they're picking up a ton of farm. And this is because there's no pressure in Barrage. They don't feel worried. They don't feel like, oh, we have to start the Baron now, we're going to lose. They feel really comfortable. They're not concerned about Godsent going into the later stages. As you said, they're really weak right now. Hoyes in particular, being that low on stacks and being down in gold just means you're pretty much a non-factor. Even if he does position safely, you're just not able to do anything in return. And actually, as this time has passed and Barrage have been farming up, something you were talking about was the flash from Flipper. It's now available again. So, you know, Barrage didn't feel like they had to force a fight without it. They now have access to that tool once more. And Mikma, I would not like to be in your shoes in this situation because we've seen it time and time again.
It's going to be so difficult for him to do anything with this. Then Voxnay has the triple evolve here with the Nashers, the Ginsus, and the Essence Reaven. You can see how much damage he does. That Baron already down to 7,500 HP. Seaboy's going to look for an engage. Does have the Blast Cone. Could be his moment to show up here for Godsent and try and claw something back from this game, because right now they have nothing. Control Ward goes into the pit once again. Here's Greedy looking for that Cyclone. Flipper flashes forward, and they've caught out Mikma. The Tempered Fate will stop him for now. The TP coming in from Champion, but Mikma's already dead. Emperor Survive's going to knock Greedy into the backline, and there goes Pedersen as well. The Dawning Shadow coming out. Flipper's almost dead, and Champion on that backline is making this fight messy. He's making this fight dirty. He's making this fight hard for Barrage, and even through the Unleashed Power, he's not going to fall. He steps back forward. Now he goes down. 3 for 3. 3 and 3 still left alive as Hoyes is going to try and chase out Den Voxnay, but the double for Jadran lands another. The Dark Sphere comes out, and what can Hoyes and Seaboy do? Well, not much is the answer. Barrage just going to smack him in the face with their wallets. Their checkbook is too darn big right now. Barrage get a double and a triple, and they will get the ace.
I mean, there were moments there where it started to look like Godsent were pulling it back. Champion finds the backline access, but it's just not enough. He doesn't have the damage to cut through Den Voxnay. He gets away safely, and then it ended up being initial 2 for 2, but they try and chase down, and you can see there Den Voxnay just able to throw out massive poke, and Jadran absolutely on fire this game. 25 stack Medjais, got the Rabadons in the pocket as well. It's just too much of a goal disadvantage, and now with the Baron as well, Barrage in a super comfortable position.
Have another look at that play, because there were moments in this fight where it looked really messy.
I mean, that's the thing, is that initially we see Mikma go down. He then ults the ulting Wukong in, which is a bit rough, but Champion finds the backline access, gets a lot of damage down, but then Voxnay flashes out, and that's the critical factor. He doesn't die, and so even though this initial trade is only a 2 for 2, then Voxnay still being alive and Jadran being there just means this is an auto win for Godsent, because Hoyes just loses so much HP there. Then Voxnay finds a window in and executes him, and there's just really nothing they can do. The only person who was actually going to be able to provide threat onto Den Voxnay dies without being able to take him out. Mikma was already dead at the start of the fight. It was honestly a great team fight for Godsent considering the goal disadvantage, but it just felt insurmountable, especially when Mikma dies right at the start.
Just too far behind right now. Den Voxnay's picked himself up an Edge of Night for that shield. You've got a Banshee's Veil on Jadran alongside the Rabadons and that 25 stack Medjais. It's a 10,000 gold lead for Barrage. And you're just too strong. Like, Barrage are way too powerful right now. If they play their cards right, this should be an easy close for them. They're playing the 4-1 split as Dreedy goes off towards the top lane to try and push in that tier 2 that we talked about so long ago. But you have to feel that C-Boy is just looking tentatively for a flank. Champion doing the same as he comes in from the bottom lane, but Dreedy will be able to get that tier 2 pretty easily. 1.5 minutes left on this Baron buff. 1 minute left on the Cloud Soul, or on the Dragon spawning. And with the tier 2 falling in the top lane, this gold lead is going to expand and expand and expand. They'll now start to pressure the inhibitor in the mid. It's already down to 1/3 of its HP. Inhibitor tower getting chunked away in the top lane as well. And Godsent, you got to pull the trigger. You got to do something. You got to go in, because otherwise you're just going to get chipped away at. And the thing of beauty about this Kai'Sa build is those Void Seekers hurt, right? Like, you have a huge amount of AP. Look at that Hoist.
You see it there.
Just so much damage. Double inhibitor now, and Godsent, they don't have the tools. Where's their engage? Who's going to go in? Maybe you look for a tempered fate as Champion jumps onto Dreedy, but Champion's almost dead already, and the domination from Barrage and from Jadran is sublime. A double for the Syndra. Nexus Towers now the target. Emperor's Divide comes in. The Dawning Shadow goes out, but Mikma goes down, and with all 5 members of Barrage still left alive, apart from one as Flipper dies. Said that quite a few times this game. Godsent are just going to be forced away from their Nexus, and Barrage will go 1-0 up in the series.
And honestly, it's refreshing to see from Barrage, because I think throughout the split, one of the big criticisms we've had is they've had good early games, but the mid game is where it gets messy. And what we saw here was a Barrage who didn't have a great early game, in all honesty. They didn't navigate it too well, but their mid game was far better. Their wave management was on point. Despite the fact they were down in terms of objectives and gold, they actually managed to keep roughly even, in all honesty. There was only 1,000 lead despite the pressure advantage that Godsent had. And that meant that when they did find an opportunity to punish, it snowballed heavily in the other direction, and the game was just in their hands from that point. I think we've seen a much better Barrage than we've previously seen in this tournament. And honestly, Godsent looking a little bit rough there. I mean, the fact that they had that gold advantage and they weren't able to capitalize, the fact that they had the pressure advantage and they had the heralds and they just weren't able to find the lead they needed is really rough, especially considering how far ahead Champion specifically was. You have a Renekton that strong, you should be looking to win every fight from that point, and ultimately they didn't. Barrage found that massive advantage and able to come at 1-0 in the series.
Credit to Barrage. It was a great game by them. We'll see if Godsent can bounce back in our second game right after this break.
into a summer night. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind. Running to the future blind. Enemies, nothing really matters. My midnight sun, taking out the darkness, and it's only just begun. And it's only just begun. Tell me all your dreams and put them on your sleeve. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind.
Well, what do you know? Barrage, they're off to a flying start here with a win. And Trouble, I have to go directly to you because you did say that this was going to be a top lane kind of focused draft and game. And for the first
I'm going to try to stop him right there from ruining it any further for us because we can't hear him to follow up.
I have no idea how I was muted in Discord, but what I'm going to say again is I want to go straight to you, Trouble, because I think you did say, coming out of draft, you were basically saying this is going to be a top lane focused game. And for the first 10 to 15 minutes, it definitely felt that way. You could clearly see resources being put into Champion.
You know what? I felt like a queen. I'm like, I set it up so beautifully. It was better top lane wins. Better top lane was winning, but you can't carry 1v9 because when the bot side of the map is that heavy, a Renekton can only go too far. And I think that the sum of the Barrage players played much better together as a team.
Yeah, and I think in general that really came into the mid game. In the beginning, I actually think it was, aside from the first Drake, it was pretty Godsent favorite. They were the one winning out on the early skirmishes. They got the Herald. They funneled all the gold into Champion, was ready to pull it out from there. But then one pivotal mistake, they got the Cloud Drake. They're trying to reset for the mid lane, but they just want that extra wave. And you know who's ready to punish that? Yadron was there at the moment, just ready to break up the entire front line. And as soon as he did that, that was not only a way back in the game for Yadron, that was a way back in the game for Dreedy and the rest of the Barrage, just all coming together and getting those shutdowns going.
Yeah, and I think as the game progressed, you started to see more and more that difference between the bot lane open up. Then Voxnay and even Jadron in the mid lane, the bottom half of the map started to come alive for Barrage, and they set up that opportunity for Dreedy to get back in. And I clearly distinctly remember it was that mid lane fight where Dreedy came in and got a quadra kill. And I remember Trouble basically saying, well, this is it now, that you've set up your top lane for success and that's it. But for me, like, I think the clear defining factor was just how much gold that bot lane got in the start, like the early lanes. And then Voxnay, he converted it. Like, he actually converted it. We had questions about his Kai'Sa and we had one really good play, obviously, for Barrage getting into the playoffs. But this game, I can quite honestly say
that was Kai'Sa. That was
Yeah.
Remember when Dreedy said, I was hoping one of my teammates would smurf it at the Nexus so I can finish? That was the Voxnay literally jumping on the backline with the Kai'Sa. And I feel like this was sort of the idea for here as well, but it just didn't go well for Dreedy in the early game, so he can split push, and then the Kai'Sa joined him. But we also mentioned that they had extremely good team fighting options as well. And I just want to say here that Godsent and Barrage are extremely similar in the place that they're playing. You see a Barrage that's so, I don't know, they just look so dominant. We've never seen them like this before. They're playing against their mirror image. All they have to do is be individually better because they're both playing the exact same game. And in this specific one, it felt like Barrage was way better than Godsent.
Yeah, and just in honesty, it's nice to see that Godsent was prepared to kinda give up objectives and out on gold. They were always contesting the skirmishes around the Drake, and that is what got them behind in the early game. But in general, they were actually really good at finding their fights in the mid games, which is something we have criticized them for in early of the split. Like last week, we were saying that is not something that Barrage is capable of doing. They're always throwing away the lead. This was a very composed Barrage that we were looking at, and they were taking the right fights, and that just netted them the first game in this best of one. I was about to say
all the best ofs. But absolutely, I think one of the biggest criticisms that we had of Barrage was basically they aren't good at closing out games. Their mid to late game decision making is bad. But this game, it was good. Trouble, I believe we have a player of the game ready to go. So let's take a look at that, and you can walk me through it.
That is the mid-game decision-making that I was expecting to see from Barrage. They've seen the Crocodile down bot lane. He does not have teleport, so they're hard forcing the Baron because they know they have the numbers advantage. Now, that was a good ult from Pedersen to try and stall that out, but Barrage at this point have two options. Burst down the Baron and try to go for the 50-50, or try and fight them and stall this out. You see that Flipper was going back and forth. He didn't know what was happening. Yadran clutches it out big for his team. This guy's 1v4 right now, and he still keeps on killing everybody. He helps Flipper with the Baron, secures the Baron, and then steals the win straight away out of Godsent's hands. And from that, there was yet another Baron fight, which followed up, and it was the exact same thing. Yagran smurfs on them, the entire team jumps in, and then just slap them with the 8,000 gold lead that they have at this point. And I'm very happy to see a Barrage that takes decisions based on map states. Renekton didn't have to be forced the numbers advantage of Baron. It was great to see.
Yeah, and I think, maybe we highlighted in Voxing, maybe we didn't highlight Jadran enough. He had an excellent game on that Syndra, really stepped up to the plate. Guys, got a break coming your way. I know that's not as exciting as I made it sound, but after that, we have another game in the best of 3, so stick around.
bloodshot eyes. Another ocean opens wide. Our love is sick but still alive. Then all our hearts would radiate and melt the sadness we create. Only then could we survive. Let's turn has almost passed us by. Still we watch it fade away. And all our prospects wearing thin. We don't know where to begin, or where we might have gone astray. We crave, we strive to feel alive. Singing this love is all around us. This love is all around us. Wait for tomorrow. Lay in sorrow. Along your waste. This is no fate. Singing hey, hey. This love is all around us. 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 Let the sparks fly into a summer night. We're going eye to eye, running to the future blind.
All right, second game on the way here between Barrage and Godsent. Obviously, Barrage taking the first game of the day. We're into draft already. Let's see. Trouble, can I start with you here? What would you like to see shifted up for Godsent to allow them to have the edge here? They've obviously selected red side again. That might indicate that it's going to be another top lane focus for them at the end of the draft. But is there anything else that you'd like to see changed coming into this particular draft?
I don't think there was particularly anything that I would personally change. I like the draft from both sides. I think it was whoever plays better wins in that scenario. The gods and bot lane pretty much went, I don't know, see-through. We couldn't see them at all in the map. And I think that was the big difference maker. I don't necessarily think their champions were bad at this point, and I'm not expecting to see any different balance, especially because both of these teams are still on the same side.
I mean, I'm quite interested to see if they're going to go for that center again. Orcs mentioned it briefly, but the thing is, when you fall behind with this center, it's not only just falling behind in gold, it's also falling behind in terms of actually farming the souls. And I think that the Karma and Kaiser lane just kept this center pressure down on the turret. And with the Trundle, because the Godsent is so topside heavy focused, they couldn't do anything about it. And now they actually removed that threat. I don't think Hoist is a Kaiser player himself. So I think this is why they're like, okay, you're the only one who gets punished by this ban, so we're going to go with this one.
I know Den Voxnay, and I've known him for a while. I would not be surprised to see a potential Caitlyn which is kind of propped up in the meta over the last few weeks or so. I would not be surprised to see a Caitlyn Van Denbox. I know he's not limited to the kind of 80 carries that we've obviously seen so far, so keep your eyes on that part of the draft.
And specifically, a Karma Caitlyn lane would be extremely oppressive towards whoever you're playing against, because Karma is insta-prio anywhere you put her on the map. But I do like that Godsent go onto attack mode. Pantheon screams to me early game, and if with a late game composition to the previous game, we had 7 kills in 6 minutes, now with the Pantheon, I'm looking for even more.
But now we need to get that late gaming aspect of it. Now you got the early game, you know you want to attack. But we have seen multiple times that this early game kind of style, it's so hard to play. Obviously, there's still a flex in Wukong and Pantheon. Center is still up and available. We can still see the goal.
Okay.
This is a Caitlyn game.
This is such a flipper OG champion. This is such a flipper OG champion. If people, like, he used to be known for his Nunu, he would play this in Zhao, and he would play this Ivan combined with the Skarner we saw last game. Holy moly, this screams hyper carry.
This screams Caitlyn to me. There you go. It's extremely powerful. You give in shields, you give Ardent Sensor. You can have Mikhails on your Karma if you want, and then the Ardent Sensor comes from the tree, the Ivan. But now what I'm thinking is that this is an Ashe Pantheon bot lane. They don't just want to sit there and get poked. They want to instantly engage and kill anything that comes close to them, whether it's the Karma or the Caitlyn. So I wouldn't put it past Pedersen to grab that Pantheon and get it straight down that bot lane.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the Pantheon pick. It's so flexible in terms of what it can offer. I think we've seen Pantheon in almost every position, apart from AD carry, obviously. In the NLC, this split, we've seen it top, we've seen it mid, and still more flexibility.
I think that gives it away.
Yeah.
I think that gives it away that the Pantheon will most likely go down the bot lane, because the Wukong for me is either jungle or top. The Karthus, I don't think Mikma is going to play it in the mid lane. I think it's probably going to be Hoyes. Okay, now I'm lost. Because I know Hoyes plays AP champions down the bot lane, so he would pick up the Karthus.
Yeah.
But now I don't necessarily think anymore it fits with the Pantheon. So he ruined my dream.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
what
the
I
thing,
think about the Karthus is it's insta prio by itself if you play it correctly, right? So you don't need the Pantheon to get you extra prio in that lane, but it's definitely a wild draft from Godsent. Nothing really given away 100% going into this second ban phase. The Mordekaiser band, which makes me think that it's likely, you're looking towards potentially a Wukong top here as well. Jax being banned away, again, very similar sort of style from Barrage coming into this second ban phase.
I think the smartest thing for us here would just be to not assume anything about Godsent's picks right now. I think we can only just agree and say that they have flex picks, and then let's just keep it at that, because there's no way we're gonna figure out where these people are going yet. But on the other side of Barrage, as you said, there is still the matchup between Treaty and Champion, and the bands clearly display that. You can say that no one wants to blind pick anything. Peculiar that they're actually banning the Renekton, but that is just a matchup. So for the top side,
that gives away that the Wukong is going top lane, because we saw how hard Champion was able to destroy Dreedy in the top lane, because Renekton is a hard counter to Wukong, because you can trade very easily right there. So that sort of gives away one of our flex picks. Still to see where the Pantheon will go. I wouldn't put it past C-Boy, because he wants to play that aggressive style, but seeing the Twitch,
I'm not gonna.
I think of a Yumi. I think that the only thing that can go against the Caitlyn Karma would probably be like something like a Karthus Yumi down the bot lane, because he has the sustain and he has the poke.
It's a Zac. So Zac jungle, which means Pantheon potentially Zac jungle. It could be Zac top. No, maybe Zac top. I don't know.
Four flex picks.
It's still wild. It's still absolutely wild.
I think the Wukong is the only thing that's going to be going top lane. There's no other reason they would want to ban Renekton and Mordekaiser away unless they had already pre-picked their top laner. Oh.
Okay, that is just a statement. Coming in with
wow.
a Relier is...
Bloody hell.
I mean, Jesus Christ, that just means that you really want to push your own advantage up in that top side. Fits really well together with the Ivan too. It's like really easy. You get that shield on top of you, pop, and it's just easy to land those stunts, and Aurelia frees you up for that playstyle you want to get in there.
And in all honesty, when we asked Nick Scandal, what would you like to change? I'm like, from bans? Nothing really. I just want them to play the same thing.
How
play
about
better.
just change the entire comp? How about every single pick? Oh, and
So this is a Carlos Pantheon bot lane.
Yeah.
Okay, now this screams to me that we have a bot lane where we really want to attack the Voxner and Nightmare in their composition, but at the same time, we want to go for backline damage threat. Everyone here, except the except the Cartus, got a CC to get onto them, although we have the Requiem too. So this is like, we want to scale, we want the Pantheon to be aggressive early, and we just want to hit you as hard as we can as soon as we hit our item spikes.
I know there are shields, right? I know we've got Karma, we've got Ivern, but everyone can dive Caitlyn. The Requiem counts as a dive, by
I think the other craze would be here, everyone and their mums, because not just everyone here.
everyone, their mums and their dogs can dive Caitlyn in this particular game, because it's Wukong. Oh my word. Good luck, Dame Voxner. You're going to need it. Casters, I think they're going to hand it over to you now.
Thank you very much, Scoundrel. Good luck to us as well, Orcs. Like, firstly, high five. There we go. Nice. Secondly, what on earth is going on with this draft? Like, Karthus Pantheon bottom lane, Kassadin mid, Irelia top lane. It's blowing my mind, my man.
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty spicy, but I think there's clear win conditions because enemy team opens with Ivern, Karma, Caitlyn. I'm instantly thinking, right, okay, that is problematic. You can't let that Caitlyn go unchecked. You can't let them group up for a team fight or they're just going to win. So there's two options to answer this. You have on the one hand dive, and on the other hand you have split push, right? They've got both in this composition. There is heavy dive for Godsent, so if they do opt into a team fight, if they play around early aggression, they can threaten this Caitlyn in the back line. And alternatively, you now have a Wukong in the top lane, you have a Kassadin in the mid lane, and then you have a Karthus ult or a Pantheon ult to help them out if they are playing a wide map state. So ultimately, I think Godsent have actually made an intelligent draft. They want to find some momentum early off the back of this bot lane who can play really aggressive. But ultimately, I want to see how they play the team fights, how they play the wide map state, because I think they have win conditions there. It's just the execution's a little bit rough, because Barrage, they just need to group up and they should be fine.
And the thing about this is, like, whenever I watch games at an ERL level, I think which team is easier to execute, because that's usually what it comes down to, right? Like, you can have these super inventive drafts that, like, you have the dive, which we saw a bunch into the Soraka bot lane that Fnatic were playing for a while. If you execute it well, it can be great into your enemy's composition, but usually it comes down to, can we team fight well? Is our 5v5 good? And who has more front to back threat? And if I look at this composition, I say, well, Barrage probably has more front to back threat in the majority of the game, right? It's a lot easier to execute. Your AD carry right clicks on things, and we know AD carries like to right click on things. Your top laner dives in every now and again. Your jungler puts down a 6th body for you in a team fight, and Syndra every now and again will press R, right? And then you look at Godsent, and it's like, this is your last game to stay in the NLC, right? If you lose this, you're out of playoffs. What we gonna do? Cool. Oh, you know what we'll do? We'll triple flex all of our first 3 picks. And it's like, what? Like, it's great that you can do that, but if you don't execute, what a game to try something like this out in.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of situations where teams pick these flex picks, and then they get to a point and they go,
yeah.
I mean, we can put them anywhere, but where do we actually want to put them? I actually think Godsent have managed to navigate the draft quite well, because I definitely could have seen a lot of situations where they're just like, okay, who wants the Pantheon? And then just the comms are silent. Like, no one wants to play that champion. But it feels like they've got decent spots for each of these champions. And it feels like, again, although it's harder to execute and it is going to be a difficult ask when they've already lost that game 1, there is the win conditions there. So I think it's really up to Godsent to challenge Barrage, because I think if Barrage just, play for the priority bot lane, let the Caitlyn scale up, press their buttons, put their shields on the Caitlyn and the Syndra, it should be easy going. So I still think this is a favor on Barrage, but I'm hoping Godsent make this into a series.
It's going to be super easy, interesting to see how it plays out. I will note the changes on 10-13 to Karthus. You now get the mana regeneration off Defile, even if you're not running Defile, even if Defile's ticking. So it means that Hoy's might be a little bit better on his mana sort of control in the bottom lane early on, because usually one of the issues with Karthus is that you run out of mana as you're trying to lay waste and farm up the minions early doors. But here, he's still ticking over that mana pretty well. He should be in an okay spot. Early on, we saw Champion getting the push in the top lane, like we saw last time. Dreedy's going to use the Warrior Trickster clone to get some damage down here. Champion forced out pretty heavily there, down to about half HP. Is going to back, has the teleport to get back into the lane, and we'll probably have to use it with where the wave is sitting.
Yeah, Wave's in a really rough spot. I do believe it's going to push back towards Champion, though, so I think he can just walk back to lane in this situation. But a rough trade. I think the big thing with the Aurelia-Wukong matchup is that in the extended trades, Aurelia just wins out. Stacking up the passive, you do more damage auto for auto. Champion really wants to play around, getting these quick bursty trades and backing away from that. But you can see Dreedy able to crash the wave. They'll deny a little bit from Champion, so in a really comfortable spot on this Aurelia, and kind of showing us why this was taken as a pick, because looking comfortable in this matchup already.
And you look across the board on every lane for Barrage is doing well, right? Bot lane, they constantly pushing this in. Hoyes and Pedersen are just stuck beneath their turret. Have now hit level 3, so have a little bit more kill threat onto this Karma if Nightmares oversteps. But Nightmares just using the bush, using the vision advantage they've gained. Jadrin in the mid lane has a 6 CS lead as expected into a Kassadin. Like, Kassadin's good into mages, but not that great early on because you just get out harassed by the range advantage that the Syndra has. And Dreedy in the top lane got a free back, right? He's gonna be 2 CS behind, got himself a Dormans, has the corrupting potion as well. Honestly, Barrage are, I say 4 minutes into the game in a really good spot. Flipper is now looking for a gank as Champion has this wave just slowly pushing out away from him. Dreedy hits the stun. Champion trying to bait out the Warrior Trickster there. He's going to step forward. Flipper doesn't quite hit with the Q. And so Champion will just get a ward into that bush.
Yeah, Champion reads it, but ultimately it doesn't change the situation. You don't die, but the wave is going to push away from him thanks to that really healthy cannon. So Champion is just going to be denied a ton of CS in this situation. And that is the impact of Dreedy finding that push, able to crash it into tower, enabling the bounce back. And it's just going to mean Champion is in a difficult spot. We can see bot side, C-Boy potentially looking to find something. Obviously do now have that setup from the Pantheon and really strong on the all-ins. But ultimately, Devoxy and Nightmare's just able to play a little bit back, a little bit safe, and they're comfortable to do so. I think that's the thing, is that Barrage are in a really strong position in this early game. We're kind of waiting for level 6 for Godsent to really come online. We want Caston to be a champion. We want C-Boy to be able to use that ult when he dives, and critically the Requiem and the Grand Starfall. Big tools for the side of Godsent. So I think Barrage just going to start the Dragon, and I don't expect any real response to come up from Godsent here, especially with Champion TPing in top.
You can't respond now, right? Like, Champion's going to try and harass 3D down so that if he teleported into this fight, he would be a little bit lower HP, but intelligently, Godsent do not take the fight around the Dragon. First Dragon will be secured. Flipper might be a little bit worried for him, but he's going to just heal back up off that. Barrage get the first Dragon of the game. It's an Inferno, and now Dreedy can use his teleport to get back into this lane. He almost had a freeze going, but when Champion expended his TP, it was a bit harder for Dreedy to get in a good position. Continues to trade here with Champion. As you said, in these extended trades, the Aurelia tends to win out. Champion's almost dead. Oh, Dreedy flashes away from the knockup from C-Boy. Champion down to about 100 HP.
Winning.
He's winning. Champion has already burnt his flash. C-Boy here going to go and use his flash as well. Decided he didn't want to use the passive. Flipper on his way up. Do you dive? Do you dive? Do you go for it? No, Flipper's not yet level 6. Might be a little bit greedy. But here we go. Root Caller. Miss it. Oh, hits. They're not going to jump in. Dreedy.
Flipper has TP.
Oh, here we go. Here we
TP
go.
to the blob, so I wouldn't
Fight him.
risk this.
Fight him. C-Boy and Champion decide to back away. Probably intelligently. The Vanguard's Edge was available for Dreedy, but you can see just how powerful this Aurelia is. 22 CS up. Champion went Cull. Has only got 3 stacks on it. And Dreedy, he's going to be building up towards that Blade of the Ruin King very quickly.
They're going to get this plate as well. So the Aurelia are going to be in a really good spot. And it's just, I mean, this is one of the issues I have, is that we talked about how I love the transition from Jadrin to picking things like the Syndra in this series, having that early pressure to play around. You look at Godsent, your mid-jungle is Caston Zac. That is not a mid-jungle that inspires hope in me, makes me think, yeah, guys, let's do anything early game. And you can see there, Zac jumps in onto the Aurelia and is just like, oh, hey, can you stop beating up my top laner? And Aurelia just says, fine, I'll beat you up instead. I'll take both of you on. It's just that there's nothing really that Godsent are able to offer in terms of resistance until they really start to hit their spikes. So for now, it is very much just Barrage's game. They picked up that Dragon. I'm looking to see them potentially contest priority bot lane, and then they can rotate their bot lane up top side. But for now, in honesty, they could just be happy keeping lanes as they are, because Dreedy is murdering Champion.
Heard on the analyst desk, it's going to be a battle of the top laners at times. This game, Dreedy is the one who is coming out well and truly on top with this Aurelia pick. A little bit of a surprise in the draft phase, but it's working out so well. And Flipper using that push in the top lane to get some advantages, get some wards into this jungle, has total control over the Rift Herald, and is going to start it up, it looks like.
Yeah, and I've got to ask the question. Oh, my CC boy coming over to contest this. He has seen this,
I
so...
mean, you don't win this, mate. Your top laner just backed. Oh, wait, Pedersen's on his way. Doesn't have the Grand Starfall yet. Skyfall. One of those two.
Casten's coming. It's level 6 now, so they could look for this.
I'm not sure you want this fight. Dreedy still has the Vanguard's edge. Mikma jumping in. Jadwin has been silenced. Locked up for a second. Nightmare's on his way as well. And Godsent, you think you have a man advantage, but are your champions really champions as of yet? Nightmares comes in with the tether. The smite goes down. Seaboy in the middle of it all. Almost goes into the passive. The Rift Herald is there, and Seaboy will pick it up. He won the smite fight, but he's going to pay for it with his life. The Zac Globlets ardently run back towards each other, but Jadwin puts down a single Dark Sphere and picks up the kill.
You know, in all honesty, I think you take that one. I don't think it's too bad overall. You deny the Herald, which can often be worth more gold with taking down that first tower. As long as Barrage aren't able to get anything more significant here, you should be fine, but you can see them
Can you
moving
hear
around.
it? The Jaws theme tune is playing right now as Barrage hone in on their targets. They can smell blood in the water, and that blood signified by Hoyes and Pedersen. Here comes Jadwin, hit with the layaways, but the Vanguard's edge goes in. Pedersen locked up, knocked back, stunned against the wall. They're looking for Hoyes, they're looking for Pedersen, they're looking for two. Dreedy not quite able to get the final auto in, but there's the Dark Sphere coming out from Barrage. 2 kills in the top lane. Just as you said, it was good for Godsent. Barrage strike back.
Yeah, and Mikma's TP actually stopped by the Caitlyn. Caitlyn running up to trap him to deny the Casten from being able to turn it around. And yeah, you know, the trade's fine, but it's the follow-up that is not favorable for the side of Godsent. Barrage, perfect capitalization on that. And I'm starting to get a bit worried about Godsent. Oh, engage coming in.
Pedersen's going to get the stun. They're looking for the kill on Denvoxney. There's the barrier. There's the flash, but he's going to get underneath the turret. The Requiem will not be enough. There's not enough AP on Hoyes as of yet. And you could see that's the plan, right? Dive the Caitlyn, but you got to be more fed than you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely do. And I mean, ultimately, this is just a free cleanup in the top lane. Pedersen had already used his Aegis Assault, so didn't have that tool to keep himself alive. Free pickings. And if that's your counterplay, if it's like, guys, we lost Dragon, we lost 3 members of our team, but we chunked Caitlyn, we got the summoners, that's not a great response, especially to burn in the Grand Starfall and the Requiem in that situation. It really starts to make me quite worried for Godsent, because Barrage aren't stopping on this momentum. They're going to move towards this Dragon. They're feeling comfortable. And this is sort of a point where, you know, Caitlyn might be a little bit weaker when you look at it around these mid-game team fights, but they're not even having to team fight at this point because everything's just been handed over to them. So I think very quickly, if nothing changes, we're going to see a Denvoxney who is super powerful with the support of a Karma and this Ivan. And I'm going to get very scared because if Godsent try and dive that, it just won't work.
I mean, it's already a 2,000 gold lead, Orcs. Like, remember when we were talking about Godsent last game? They had the early lead. You know, we saw Champion getting ahead in the top lane just a bit. They were only ever 1,500 to 2,000 gold ahead. And this really doesn't look like it's stopping here from Barrage. Seaboy going to try and do what he can in the jungle of Barrage here, but then Boxnay's on his way. Seaboy doesn't have the passive, has to use the the elastic slingshot to get all the way across. Rooted up here by Nightmares. Mikma's on his way down as well, but they're... All the time that you do this, you are denying CS and denying experience from Mikma, right? Like, he's going to have to go up top and try and deal with Dreedy, but Castellan not going to be the best into an Aurelia at this point in the game. Doesn't even have the Rod of Ages stacking up. Dreedy almost has his Blade of the Ruin King. You can see the pings coming down. They're looking for a dive here on Mikma. Mikma's going to have to retreat. And this isn't only about trying to get a kill as the root does come down. Dreedy flashes forward, looking for the root caller, but couldn't quite get in range. Here comes Nightmares as well. Mikma flashes away. With the final Riftwalk will escape. It's not just about trying to kill Mikma. It's about saying, hey, mate, you know that level 16, you know what Twitch chat is spamming right now, you know, TikTok, time on the clock, we're going to get to level 16. That's not coming. That's 10 minutes away. That's 11 minutes away. You just delay and delay and delay any power that Godsent have. Godsent going to try and do something on the bottom side of the map as Jadwin gets the stun, still has the unleashed power here. Seaboy jumps in, there's the TP coming in from Barrage. Seaboy locked up there with the unleashed power, and Dreedy doesn't quite land the stun as the flash comes out of Seaboy, but the Vanguard's edge just goes wide as well. No one can hit anyone, no one can die. Pedersen is, what are you doing there, mate? You're being sneaky beakies? Okay, it's just going to back away.
Yeah, so a little bit messy there, but ultimately they do manage to defend on the bot side. They lose the plates from the Herald, but the return plays, they're getting some more plates in mid, and it's just, again, more and more of a lead for the side of Barrage. And as you said, yeah, Mikma at a point on the casting is going to be relevant, but I'm really concerned that they are just falling too far behind. We can see the gold in front of us. About 1,000 gold lead in the mid lane, 700 between these bot laners, 800 in the top lane. And that's the thing, is consistently across the board, we have the leads for this Barrage composition. And they're on a pretty good time scale looking towards that Ocean Soul. One of the most impactful in the game. Going to make it extremely hard to cut through Barrage if they have that healing. And they could potentially be looking at one at about the 21-minute mark if Godsent aren't able to contest this. So level 16 casting, way too far away to be talking about when we're looking at this Ocean Soul contest.
And an Ocean Soul with an Aurelia, with a Syndra, with a Caitlyn, it just makes you so darn unkillable. Yep. So darn difficult to deal with. I would like to see Nightmares back and get an Oracle's alteration. He's just upgraded his Sightstone, and with the next Ocean Dragon being up in 2 minutes, getting that Oracles and clearing out some of the vision that Godsent have been pretty diligent in putting down would be really impactful for them. He's not going to do it quite yet. He's teaming up with Den Voxnay in the mid lane. They're gaining control over the Rift Herald area, so you can pretty much see where Barrage want to go next. Once again, hey Mikma, Kassadin in the side lane. Not going to be able to stay here alone for long.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the wave clear to offer up in return, and you'll be like, well, what can Godsent do? Mid lane, the Voxnay just walks out the lane, so they have no threat. Bot lane, I mean, I don't think those two win against Aurelia 2v1. With the Blade doing King now, yeah, I think she'll just heal through their damage once that ults have been used. So not really much they can do there, and it just means Barrage can now rotate down. Dreedy does play respectful and back away, but you can see Barrage are continuing to apply pressure here.
Aegis Assault used by Pedersen to stop the ace in the hole, and here comes the flank from C-Boy. Perhaps they're looking for a fight as this mid lane tower is going to fall before C-Boy can even get in. It's down. Scatter the Wit's going to knock Pedersen and Mikma back. Here comes the TP, the redemption used as well. Hoy's able to get the first kill on Flipper. C-Boy, oh, teleport was cancelled there. Dreedy going in, doesn't have the flash to jump the wall. Champion had to flash away.
And I was waiting for the moment. I saw the TP, one member down. It looked like we're finally going to see the play coming out from Godsent, and TP cancelled. Plays over. You get one kill, you lose your mid tower. Still going in favor of Barrage, and it feels like Godsent have these ideas. They're like, okay, we have the dive potential. We can use the Requiem and the Grand Starfall in tandem, and then it just hasn't materialized yet. And there's still time, but the clock is ticking. 30 seconds on that third dragon. We often see teams wanting to contest it because once you give that one over, you're on soul point. You have to fight every single dragon from then on or give over the soul. And even if you do fight the dragon, if the enemy team does manage to smite it, you're in a rough spot. So my question is going to be, what are Godsent going to do if they're going to contest this dragon? Because Barrage, they're moving over to start sweeping out the vision.
Nightmare's Oracles just come off cooldown as well, so even if Flipper doesn't catch all these wards, Barrage should still be able to get them all. Nightmare's going to step in, get some control. Actually looks like Godsent aren't going to fight this one. Like, it's up in 2 seconds and 4 of their players are on the top side of the map. Like, it would not be a wise choice to dive in right now. Their only real benefit is the fact that Mikma can go up and get some CS in the top lane, but he's just doing Krugs right now. Godsent might even actually just play for the Rift Herald here. They've decided to give up the dragon, puts them on that 5-minute clock. They're trying to get what they can for now.
Means they get something at least, but sacrifice is going to be the bot lane tower. At least with the Herald, you can potentially threaten the mid lane tower. Throw that one down, you can get a low enough maybe to the point where you can look to take it later. We do see Mikma pushing in the top lane, but he's nowhere near taking that one down. So again, just advantage for Barrage, but Godsent, 4.5 minutes. I don't see what's necessarily going to change between now and then, but they need to find a way of shutting Barrage down at that point.
Let's talk about how you could change it, though, because we have been very Barrage focused. Like, I want to sing their praises. They're playing a lot better than they did in the regular season as Flipper looks for a dive in the bottom lane. Here comes the redemption. There is the Cyclone as well. The Requiem used. Dreedy will be able to survive it. Oh, actually dies right at the last tick there. Must have been hit by an extra tower shot. Jadran has popped the unleashed power in the top lane as Mikma jumps back in. Here's C-Boy. The stretching strike connects on a minion. Doesn't hit the Syndra its intended target, but Godsent getting a kill in the bottom lane in that dive and being able to force Jadran away.
And I think this is exactly what you need. You play a wide map. So they go for play on a champ on the bot side. The Requiem is there to help out. They go for play on the top side. C-Boy can move up and assist. And it means you're playing both sides of the map. And yes, do they still lose out bot lane? But they trade a kill for a kill. Yeah. And then they get the top lane tower. They force a flash with Jadran. It's putting them in a better position towards that dragon. I think that's what they need to do when possible. play these side lanes out because that's where they have an advantage. And then when it comes to the team fight, burning the flash of Jadron, which isn't going to be available for the Dragon, is super important. You want to be able to dive this backline. You have the tools to do so. Yes, the gold disadvantage is a bit of a problem, but if you brute force and you find a window, that could be enough to take the team fight for Godsent.
What Godsent have done well is kept that gold about the same level, right? It got to about 2,500, 3,000 at the 12 to 15 minute mark, and now it's been stable around there. Barrage is still only 2,000 gold ahead. That is focused on their carries, though. 1,200 lead for Dreedy in the top lane, 1,000 lead or 1,200 lead for Jadron. That Karthus is getting a bit bigger, you know. Hoy's on this sort of more niche pick that a lot of bot laners are picking up, is now in a good position to challenge some of these fights, and we have seen already the damage that Requiem can do. The issue is, in a full 5v5, the Requiem has to be timed perfectly, because if you're using it at the end of a fight, usually you've already lost. Sometimes you use it at the start of the fight, but the enemy then just disengages. It becomes very difficult. Mikma once again the target here for Barrage. Nightmares goes in, the stun's gonna land, and goodbye, Kassadin. Go back to the void, my friend. The Starfall coming in as well as Hedison's gonna join the fray. But yeah, that was a not so grand Skyfall there for the Pantheon. Died quicker than the 300 at the gates of Thermopylae. And now the inhibitor tower is the target for Barrage. Champion doesn't have TP, doesn't have a way to join this fight. That inhibitor turret is going to fall, and we'll see if Barrage decide to take the inhib, because we have seen teams before leave the inhibitor alive. But Barrage want every little advantage they can get, especially with the Ocean Soul up in about 2 minutes' time. Having super minions pushing in the top lane opens up the map even more.
And it's just Barrage showing how much they have grown, because we see the wide map stay opening up, we see the cast in the top lane, we see Champion down bot, and we think this is good for Godsent. What do Barrage do? They go, we are going to group, we are going to deathfall, we're going to brute force. They get 2,000 inhib on the top side, they get a couple kills, and now again, Godsent is feeling like, what are we going to do in this situation? You know, a 1-3-1 isn't working when they just do that to us. They throw down the Herald mid, it's not even going to take the tower. They're trying to get some vision around Dragon. But you've just seen an even bigger amount of gold going over to Barrage. I'm concerned, because I think you lose this Dragon fight, the game feels like it might be as good as over. You're really waiting for really late game win conditions on the Kassadin, and against an Ocean Soul, they may never even come. So Barrage, getting the mid priority, starting to move the vision out. I want to see a flank here from Godsent if they're going to be able to threaten this backline.
Well, they've got to do something, because this is the second game of the best of 3, and currently they are 1 defeat in the hole. They lose this, they're out of the NLC. I just want to reiterate what you said about Barrage. What incredible growth from this team. Like, they went 3-7 in the regular season. They had a negative win-loss. They were 30% of their games they were able to win, and here they've looked like a team transformed. They're a team that has to deal with the flank TP as Champions coming in, double TP. Mikma's going to join the fray as well. The redemption coming out on Dead Voxnade. He's still alive somehow. With the trigger seed, they're keeping him alive. Then Voxnade, though, will fall. Jadron was able to take down one. Dreedy's now going to join the fray with the Vanguard's Edge. He's jumping into all 4 players here.
Stun.
A quadra stun. Oh, he's got 2. Oh my God, Dreedy. Just gobble them up, eat them for breakfast. That was delicious.
And that's going to be it. I mean, that looked perfect for Godsent. That was exactly the fight they needed. They got the flank. They killed the Caitlyn through an insane amount of shields. But they didn't factor in Dreedy. The Aurelia coming in massive. The Vanguard's Edge onto everyone. The stun on the 4 members. And the cleanup as well. And that is going to be the Ocean Soul for Barrage. It's so frustrating for Godsent to be so close. And then that last little piece, that top laner, comes and ruins your day.
It's like, did you forget about my Aurelia just sitting in a side lane? Let's have another look at this, because as you say, it's a great start of the fight for Godsent.
And you can see how hard it is, because then Voxnade, the shielding is massive coming in, and it takes such a long time to kill him off. Honestly, this might have been the issue, is that they took a long time, they're still diving, the Vanguard's Edge connects on the loads, and then it's just the consistent resets for the Aurelia. They used everything onto Den Voxnade to break through those shields, and they had nothing left for the Aurelia, so it was free pickings. And I mean, it was beautifully executed. I can't just say that it's because the cooldowns were down. Dreedy playing that one flawlessly.
They lined up like a bunch of bowling pins, and Dreedy just struck them out. That could be the final big team fight that Godsent actually get in the NLC this season. Barrage now chipping away at this bot tier 2. They have the Ocean Dragon. There's an Elder in 5 minutes. Ocean Soul, sorry. There's an Elder in 5 minutes. There's a Baron up, but they don't need it. Dreedy can 1v5. We've just seen it. And the rest of Godsent just don't know what to do about this. Leandris has been complete on Hoys. Mikma, level 13 on the Castin, has his Seraphs, has a fully stacked Rod of Ages. But with Daisy to join the fray, it's now a 6v5. Add Dreedy, he counts as 2. 7v5 here for Barrage. They are looking to get into the next round of playoffs.
The Ocean Soul as well, it's a hard ask. You want to stop the siege, you want to dive, they're looking for it now.
C-Boy jumping in, but he gets knocked straight out of the air. Sniped like a clay pigeon, and Pedersen dives in, perhaps to his demise. Dreedy's just sitting in mid lane. He's standing still. He's waiting for the minions to push in because already his team have picked up one. Champion's going to come across. There was no wave here for Barrage, so they might have to just take their foot off the gas for a second. They dive onto Dreedy. Doesn't land the flawless duet, but he does land the damage. An unstoppable Dreedy, an unstoppable Barrage, and no one is sinking this ship today.
Yeah, I mean, the dive failed from a beautiful scout of the week coming out from Jadran, and then they're like, oh, I guess we'll go for Dreedy. He's still full HP. Doesn't really work. This is Barrage just cleaning up, and Godsent really running out of ideas fast. Castin still stacking up, still waiting for that late game. 2 levels from 16. I'm not sure you're going to get to that point at this rate.
It's going to be double inhibitor at least. Top one is still down from that earlier push. Will be respawning relatively soon, but that's all 3 inhibs. If I were Barrage, yeah, I'd probably play this one by the book. There's a Baron on the cards for you. You can go and take it straight away. You can reset first and just deny Godsent any awareness of what's going on the map.
Just head back, spend that gold, put yourself in the best situation possible. Let the minion waves push in, which honestly a little bit tricky to clear. They're going to really need Hoys' wave clear because there's not a ton coming out from Mikma. And there's no pressure. You can literally just chill back, hide around Baron. If you want to start it, you got Ocean Soul and shields to sustain. There's not too much risk. It's Godsent who are really on the back foot in this situation. And it's not just their backs against the wall. It's the fact that they lose this, they are out of the tournament. That is their summer NLC over completely. So much pressure, not much time.
And like you even look at it, it's like even if they steal it, what can they do with that, right? It delays the game, and that's all you're hoping for here. Godsent, they know they're not going to win any advantages right now. Maybe not even win the game, but they're just trying to make Barrage sweat for it. C-Boy spotted out on that fast light alteration, isn't going to be able to get in the pit. Maybe you go for it. You just risk it for a biscuit.
There's 3,000
HP on it. Go on, C-Boy. Here we go. Slingshots in. Rooted in place. Good fast light alteration used there from Barrage. And C-Boy has no way of getting into the pit. The Baron is secured now for Barrage. They have a 6,000 gold lead. But add on the Ocean Drake, that's probably another 6,000 gold worth of stats. Add on a Baron, that's another couple of thousand. We're looking at about 15k worth of just gold advantage right now for Barrage. Godsent have only 1 inhibitor, 2 Nexus towers, and the health bar of their Nexus to try and find a way to stop Barrage in their tracks.
Yeah, just got to play it slow, honestly, for Barrage. You got the super minions coming in. Godsent, it's the last Hail Mary they need now.
Now the stun goes on to Hoys, and Dreedy is trying to stop him in his tracks. Double stun with a flawless duet. He jumps back. Here comes the Requiem, though. Dreedy might die. The turret goes down. Dreedy's done. And now it's a 5v4 as Barrage try and push on towards this final Nexus turret. Then Boxnate dancing amongst that bush. The scat of the week once again is going to knock C-Boy back. Here comes the Grand Skyfall onto the back line. Barrage takes a second Nexus tower, though. They could just go for the Nexus here. Then Voxnate has a huge amount of damage. Oh, C-Boy actually using the push made by the Ivan. They're going to dive in, and Flipper is dead. Then Voxnate the target. He's kiting. He's dancing. He's ducking. He's weaving. But Jadran gets the kill on the back line, is now looking for the Nexus. C-Boy and Pedersen try to do what they can. But Jadran is just ordering down that Nexus. C-Boy's going to go back in. A double kill for Nightmares. And I'm not sure that Zach can do much more than watch as Barrage make their way into the next round of playoffs.
Just some flawless play on the Cinder by Jadran this series. Honestly, felt like this guy's had some great moments, but typically it's on the scalers, it's on the picks, you're leaning into the later stages of the game. His Syndra has been stellar here. And I think across the board, it's been a massive step up from a roster that I felt were floundering a bit. They really showed up today, and I'm excited to see how much further they can go.
So am I. That next round of playoffs is going to be even more exciting now. Of course, commiserations to Godsent, who are out of the NLC for this split. We're going to go to a quick break before we get back with our second best of 3 of the day. Don't you go anywhere.
Ain't I mistaken? I've been here before. All my body is aching, shaking to the core. Wherever you go is a heaven, 724. Now don't go be misbehaving, but I'm craving a little more. Can't keep my thoughts inside, don't want no place to hide. Can't get you off my mind, all night and day. You always played it cool, oh but I ain't no fool. I know you feel it too, so what do you say? Well, I'ma give it a try, baby. Don't let the summer go by, baby. No, don't wanna say goodbye, baby. Maybe we should give it a try. Why don't we give it a try? Ain't no mistaken, I'm taken with you. All my body is aching, awaken anew. Oh, I think I'm in heaven it's true. Now don't go misbehaving, but I'm caving over you. Oh, can't keep my thoughts inside, don't want no place to hide. Can't get you off my mind, all night and day. Yeah, always playing it cool, oh, but I ain't no fool. I know you feel it too, so what do you say? Well, I'ma give it a try, baby. Don't let the summer go by, baby. No, don't wanna say goodbye, baby. Maybe we should give it a try. I wanna think about every time you look at my way. I wanna make the most of this high, I wanna talk about every time you wanted to stay. I wanna make the most of this night, so what do you say? Why don't we give it a try, baby? Don't let the summer go by, baby. No, don't wanna say goodbye, baby. Maybe we should give it a try. Why don't we give it a try?
I look in your eye and I'm running right into the storm that you're starting. Never wanna be without it. Electricity gets me going. When I lie awake, waiting for a shot of adrenaline. Give you everything. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Baby, we're electric, harder than a heat wave. Hold me like a secret, 'cause baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. Baby, we're electric. Hit me like a star out of orbit, crash into the sun. We're shining over all the lights below us. You're the only
Now, I would be gloating about the Barrage prediction if I hadn't done it at last minute for a meme.
Don't say that. Own up to it. Be like, hey, I got it, boy.
No, I
From
can't.
the
I
start.
can't. I don't want to toot my own horn. I kind of switched, and then the reason I switched is because I wanted to see what Furumi said, and I wasn't disappointed. I got a reaction, but hey, look, I'll take it where I can get it. Barrage get the 2-0 over Godsent. I don't think obviously many of us were expecting it, and I kind of want to laser in on where their win conditions came from, how they executed this so well.
I mean, we can talk, like we've already talked about the first game, so let's just dive into this, how they actually solidified this series. It was just a slam, right? There's nothing Godsent could do throughout the early laning phase. Top side was winning, mid was winning, bot lane was winning, and all Flipper really had to do was just go around making sure everyone was okay, you get up in top lane, okay, I'll record. How you doing down in bot? Want to take Drake? Okay, let's do it. Like, it was so easy for them just to maneuver around the map and do whatever they wanted.
I would like to agree to disagree, just to give Godsent the benefit of the doubt here. When you have a Zac and you have 3 pushed lanes and an enemy jungle that doesn't necessarily invade you or have any kill threatening you, you should have a good day, jumping onto the enemy, trying to catch people who are constantly pushing the lane over and over again, and they just never got the opportunity to do that. I felt like Godsent have a lot of chance there to win. The Kassadin got untouched, the Cutlass was going past untouched, the Caitlyn had like 2 plates, I think. We've seen Caitlyn stake all 3 towers pre-14 minutes, and this Caitlyn only had 2 plates. So it wasn't necessarily that bad. I just felt like Godsent just chilled on scaling. They're like, it's fine, guys. It's fine, level 16, level 16, but you're never going to survive until level 16. You need the Pantheon to make plays before you reach that level 16 so you can survive. And it just didn't happen.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more because they obviously had a kind of mechanism to their composition that could deal with the likes of Caitlyn in the backline. But what is it that you think, Trouble, where did they miss the mark? Like, what should they have done? Like, if you were to go back in that game and you were telling them over their shoulder, like what they should have aimed to do, like what would you have liked to have seen from Godsent in that particular game? Is it like dragon plays? Is it being more coordinated with their CC? Like, because I also kind of had a similar opinion to you going into that game.
I honestly believe that if you saw a fight that happened in the mid lane where the Zac dives in and then you also have Champion on the Wukong diving in the back line flanking, they killed the Syndra so quickly that they didn't necessarily have to chase. The Irelia is extremely fed. Take what you can and leave. That was the same case in the first game. They were taking something, but they wanted more. You don't need them more because you scale. You scale that much better than them. And I feel like the way they handled Dreedy's Irelia, which was already extremely fed, was a little bit, I don't know. I can't find the word for it, but it wasn't the best treatment they could give him. You need to respect somebody who's extremely fed, especially on someone who feels very comfortable on these types of champions. And then they kept on putting the Kassadin, which we go back into the lane assignments that Godsent at the start of the split couldn't quite figure out. And they were putting the Kassadin versus the Irelia. Obviously, you're going to get dived, lose summoners, or lose your life. So it was a little bit shaky. Win conditions, lots of them, but it was a little bit shaky on the execution.
Yeah, and I think, with treating, obviously, Dreedy, who we kind of was, I guess it was set up that it would be top lane focus. I mean, Dreedy just knocked that out of the park. He was absolutely insane on that Irelia this time round. Unbelievable. And actually, I think left a clear gulf in that top lane matchup as well. Like, you really saw, I think across both games, you saw Dreedy take that level up that Champion just wasn't able to do. And I think, it really was insane for him in this game. Guys, let's have a look at the play of the game. Gulborg, you're going to walk me through this one. I think I know which one you've got.
I mean, I think you set it up quite perfectly with what you described. This is what looks like a bit of a comeback from Godsent. They finally get to do what their composition want to do, dive the backline damage. But all the shields are just keeping Den alive for so long, stalling for this moment of Dreedy getting 4 people stunned. And let's just watch that. This is what every Irelia wants to do when they lock that champion in. Triple kill. It's not a solo play, but it might as well have been. That was just amazing from Dreedy. All the stars aligned for that play.
And you know what? That was the fight I was talking about. The second jump from Zac should have never happened. They should have never gone that deep. They should have respected that the Irelia is 3,000 gold in the lead, take the 3 kills and leave. But they just wanted more and they got bit in the bomb.
They absolutely got bit in the bottom. And Dreedy was a very, very, very large set of jaws. That was monstrous from him. I actually have an interview standing by, so we're going to dive into that. Hello, can you hear me, Cesar?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, first of all, congratulations. Unbelievable performance from Barrage, something that we haven't really seen from you guys yet, I think, in the NLC. I mean, what a transformation. Talk to me a little bit about what you've worked on for us to be able to see that Barrage today.
So the big issue that we've had this whole season is that the team that we are in scrims has not been the team that's been showing up for matches. The team that you saw today, I was really happy, especially with that second game. That is the Barrage that I get to see every day. Like, that is the team we are. That is the team that has been just tearing it up in scrims. We've had issues translating that into our match days. And I think the best of 3 format has really helped us. Like, game 1, we were still kind of nervous, still struggling with the issues that we've had before. But we really sat down, talked it through, and really game 2, it really shined. And you can just see how dominant a performance they had. And that's the Barrage that we've been all season. It's just been beneath the surface.
Yeah, and do you know what? You picked the perfect moment to bring it out, because this was a do or die series for both teams. You know, you lose, you go home at the end of the day. You're going through to face one of the winners of tomorrow's matches, and you'll continue to fight for both the European Masters and the NLC championships, which are on the line. Actually, just briefly, before I let you go, how much prep went into this series specifically? Like, what were you focusing on coming into the Godsent matchup?
So with the Godsent matchup, the thing that we really focused on was actually going to be around the top side of the map. Watching through Godsent, we kind of had a really good read on how they played the game, and it all came down to top lane pressure. Whoever was going to be able to get the top lane ahead was going to probably win the game. And for us, I mean, it seems odd with Dreedy being a Camille player, but we knew banning Camille would hurt them more than it hurt us. So we did that, and then we indexed on playing through top lane, getting him those leads, and really it showed in this series.
Gio, I'm really glad you said that, because when we were doing the pre-show, Trouble and Gulborg were specifically talking about top lane and like how it impacts and how important it's going to be for this matchup. So for you to see it from that perspective as well, I think it quite clearly was shown in the games as well with Dreedy. Unbelievable on that Irelia, like absolutely insane. Actually, what happened in the team comms when Dreedy made that play? Like, you know the one I'm talking about. What happened in the team comms when that happened?
Yeah, so in comms in that moment, like, you know, the fight's going well. We know things are still going okay in that team fight. Like, we knew it was a misstep from us for them to get that. But when they kept going further, it was just, you heard Flipper and Jadrin just saying to Dreedy, you killed him 1v4 here, just go in. And
really?
He
wow.
just goes in and he wipes it up, and like, he had a great performance on that Irelia.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly spoke for itself. Unbelievable. And if that, look, European Masters, if that doesn't get into your POG plays, you're doing something wrong. So thank you so much for joining me, mate. And obviously, congratulations. We'll see you in the next best of 3.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good to hear from Cesar there. And actually, also nice to see they saw the game the same way as you did, Trouble, as well. Like, quite clearly, they were looking for top lane ban out Camille, because they felt that was the only thing that I think Champion had, I think, the edge over Dreedy. And I think it was displayed in this series. Unbelievable.
I'll agree to disagree again on that one. On the second one, sure, 100%. I'm with them on that one. But on the first one, he might have gotten slapped a couple of times from a very vicious crocodile
yes,
until his hit became more useful in the later stages of the game. But I'll give it, you know, because even in the first game, that he lost the least amount possible that he could. So.
To me, a guy who just went under the radar, specifically because a lot of resources was giving to the top side of the map, was Jadrin. The fact that he was able to be a consistent threat on this Syndra without having any resources fed to him by the team. This was all himself getting these leads. I think that's incredible. I know that Jadrin is still going on to the playoffs, but he's a rookie for this split. I think that we need to highlight this as well. And going into the next split too, if he can expand this champion pool, he's going to be such a good mid laner too. So I think this is a promising start to his career too, knocking out Godsent like this on his Syndra.
Yeah, absolutely. And Barrage 2-0ing this is a great statement for them. They looked very strong. And if we get to see Scrim version of Barrage in the future, I have high hopes. And actually, I'm now buying into the Trouble hype that she's been trying to feed me all season. Right, guys, we are going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we have our second series of the day. So don't go anywhere.